The story begins in a school filled with motivational banners. After all, the college entrance exams are in 25 days. Suddenly, a boy wakes up startled, wondering if he somehow went back in time to before the exam. He simply screams in terror when he realizes he's back in his old third-year classroom. Grabbing his head, he despairs, thinking this must be a nightmare because reliving school was not in his plans. Then a narration explains that humanity was once invaded by powerful monsters from another dimension. To fight against them, people created a system that injects beast genes to awaken genetic talents. This is how warriors came to be, gaining a much higher status than ordinary people because of their strength. In this new world, having martial strength became the most important thing, and everything revolved around it. A system screen appears, informing him that the world's introduction is over, and the host's memories will be implanted. Receiving the new memories, he understands that he is now in the body of a student named Yahello. Right after, his classmates start making fun of him, calling him worthless for having another nightmare. A girl sitting at another student's desk gets straight to the point, telling him to drop out of school and become a common worker. Another student just watches the scene and thinks that every story with a bullied protagonist needs an annoying girl. Our protagonist understands that the original owner of the body was looked down upon because his grades dropped after an incident involving his parents. He laments having inherited this tragic and unpopular life since he's the one suffering the consequences now. The teacher then enters the room and informs the students that they are about to receive the genetic modification serum. Adjusting his glasses, the teacher gives a warning to those who didn't take their training seriously over the last few years. He smiles in relief since he wasn't the one who slacked off on training, so he has nothing to worry about. But still, he decides that since he inherited the body, he will fix all the messes left by the previous owner. In the auditorium, students discuss what they will awaken, and one of them mocks that he will get a very weak beast. A large metal case is opened, revealing several vials with a blue liquid inside. In these vials is the awakening serum, containing the genes of all magical beasts ever recorded. The teacher explains that they will absorb a random gene, and that the stronger their physique, the better the awakening will be. One by one, the students are called up to receive the genetic serum injection. He notices that everyone acts strangely after the injection and realizes this won't be easy. Without a second thought, he decides to go ahead and applies the injection to his neck. Suddenly, the young man's eyes begin to glow intensely with a bluish light. But nothing happens, and the teacher comments that he hasn't changed, so he thinks he received a fake dose. Seizing the opportunity, the girl from before, Huang Tongtong, starts laughing at him for not awakening anything at all. Tongtong continues to provoke him, saying that a warrior without an awakening is like a bird with no wings, and tells him to go home. Suddenly, he breaks into a cold sweat as a strange sensation runs through his body. A system screen appears before him, informing him that he has acquired the infinite monster model. Huang Tongtong accuses him of faking it, while the boy tells everyone to get away from him. With his eyes glowing, he warns that if they don't leave now, it will be too late. Behind him, a giant shadowy creature materializes and releases an overwhelming wave of energy. This aura is so powerful that it throws everyone back, and Huang Tongtong is stunned by the impact. Even a girl who seems to be strong, Lu Qingzhu, is surprised by the display of power. A young man with ice powers, Chu Zhou, who thought he was the strongest, now wonders if there is someone superior to him. The system then reveals that he has awakened an A-rank model with various fire abilities. He looks at his glowing hand and realizes this must be the special ability the system gave him. His classmates are shocked and wonder if that was really the loser he they knew. Lying on the floor, Huang Tongtong is unconscious, and everyone questions what model he awakened. With a superior air, he apologizes for the scene and says he told them to back away, but they didn't listen. Shortly after, an announcement over the loudspeaker summons all third-year students to the testing building. There, they will use a device to test each person's magic beast gene and martial level. We see the result of a student who awakens a level 3 insect, becoming number 1 in his class. Chu Zhou impresses everyone by awakening an ice demon dragon, becoming the potential champion. To everyone's surprise, Lu Qingzhu awakens a rare stage 4 beast, capable of taking down an entire city. He then wonders why his model is Class A while the others are classified by stages. Suddenly, his name is called, and he gets nervous with all the attention focused on him. Walking to the test, he notices everyone looking at him with admiration and concludes that martial power is everything. He then steps into the testing machine to finally discover his true power. The students get excited and comment that his level must be high because of the pressure he released earlier. Even Chu Zhou watches him with interest, thinking he's someone to keep an eye on. The result comes out, but to everyone's surprise, his bloodline is unknown and his level is only Martial Disciple 3. Immediately, everyone starts mocking him, saying his younger brother could beat him and that the aura was just a false alarm. Disappointed, he walks away, thinking he had expected a result like that. He realizes that his special model was not detected by the school's testing machine, but the system informs him that his model can be improved by completing missions or increasing his reputation. He then gives a sly smile as he understands that his model is special and can evolve. He realizes he can obtain monster models infinitely and gets excited about the idea of becoming the king of monsters. Back at school, our protagonist decides to take action to get stronger. He goes to the teacher and asks to take some time off to study at home, but the teacher doubts his intentions. The young man insists, saying he needs special training because he has fallen far behind and wants to improve. The teacher advises him to prepare to repeat the year, as his foundation is too weak to pass the entrance exam. With eyes shining with sincerity, he begs for a chance, and the teacher is moved by his determination. His teacher agrees but warns him that he will still have to come back next year, and then we see the young man heading to the warrior center. Entering the facility, he thinks about his finances and the two options he has to increase his power quickly. He notices that his compatibility with the Tomorrow model is 3% and wonders where the extra 2 points came from. The only answer is that his model absorbed the power of the genetic serum he injected earlier. This proves that spending money on serums to increase compatibility is more efficient than training to the point of collapse. Using his student ID, he passes through a turnstile to enter a restricted area of the center. Upon entering the place, he is completely shocked by the scene before him. The place is filled with powerful warriors training, and he realizes that everyone there has already awakened their bloodlines. His new model allows him to sense the vital magnetic field of creatures and the energy of others. The desire to fight boils within him, but being a newcomer, he needs to hold back until he gets stronger. Suddenly, a hand touches his shoulder, pulling him out of his thoughts about the future. A very beautiful woman warns him not to stare at others so casually. He apologizes and asks for help finding the place that sells genetic medicines, as the center is huge. The woman explains that these medicines aren't cheap and can cause resistance, losing their effect over time. She informs him that at his level, he can only use the beginner's potion, which costs 400,000. He is startled by the price and asks if she knows anyone who can give him a discount. The woman then hands him her business card and says that a referral from a senior might help. He thanks her and says goodbye, while the woman wishes the boy luck and hopes they see each other again. With a determined look, he prepares to put his strengthening plan into action. He spends a fortune on equipment and medical expenses, showing he's not messing around. At night in his room, a blue light shines brightly as the boy begins his training. He injects several serums into his body and his compatibility increases to 7%. He feels his body getting stronger but notices that the mutations get harder with each potion. With a confident smile, he believes he now has a chance to be the best in the exam. It is then explained that secret realms are classified from rank F to S with increasing dangers. The protagonist decides to go to the E-level secret realm and notices the place is quite empty. At the counter, he informs them he has a reservation, and the receptionist has him sign a liability waiver. Standing before a huge blue portal, he faces the entrance of the secret realm's rift for the first time. With an excited smile, he declares that this is the beginning of his journey to become the king of beasts. Without hesitation, he runs and jumps towards the portal, ready to face whatever comes. He is sucked into the portal and disappears in a flash of bluish light and particles. The young man lands stylishly on the other side, showing he's ready for action. Inside the realm, he is impressed by the beauty of the sky, full of planets and stars. Walking through the forest, he admires the starry sky and comes across a giant red rabbit. The system identifies it as a blade fang rabbit, a first-rank beast. The rabbit charges furiously towards him, but our protagonist just smiles confidently. With his eyes glowing, he dodges and grabs the creature by the neck with ease. He taunts the monster, as his magnetic field ability allowed him to sense its presence. In a silhouette, we see him defeating the beast with a single powerful punch. Holding the rabbit's magic core, he calculates that it's worth 1,000 yuan and finds that very efficient. He decides it's not worth collecting first-rank cores and looks for a stronger beast. Soon after, a huge second-rank demonic insect appears in front of him. With a sly smile, he draws his dagger and says he was just looking for a challenge. We see an overview of the secret realm with a strange blue crystal structure in the center. He nimbly dodges an attack from the giant creature as it tries to crush him. He remembers reading that the insect's weak spot is its soft belly, not its back. The monster then curls into a ball and rolls towards him for a spinning attack. The young man concentrates energy in his chest, preparing to use one of his martial arts. He fires a powerful energy beam that hits the insect head on, knocking it back. In response, the creature counterattacks, firing projectiles from its sharp mandibles. The young man is surprised by the unexpected attack, as he didn't know the monster could do that. Using his agility, he leans back and narrowly dodges the projectiles. One of the shots hits his jacket, and he complains, annoyed that it ruined his expensive clothes. He realizes he is too weak to win and blames the body's previous owner for not studying. With no other choice, he decides to use his cheat and activates the Emperor Demon Bloodline. His strength increases from 15 to 21 as he transforms and is covered in a blue aura. The monster then opens its huge mandibles and prepares to devour the young man. In his new form, he flies directly into the giant creature's mouth. With a single strike, he destroys the insect from the inside and lands in a pool of green liquid. Ye comments that with his enhanced physique, he crushed the monster and now needs to release the extra heat. He complains that his new sword was corroded by the venom and that the quality control is terrible. Suddenly, his stomach rumbles, and he realizes he used a lot of energy and didn't bring any food. A delicious smell catches his attention, and he starts drooling with hunger. He finds the insect's magic core, which is green and emits a very tempting aroma. Without a second thought, he decides to eat the core to satisfy his hunger. The young man chews on the magic crystal as if it were any other snack. Inside him, the core glows brightly, releasing a large amount of energy. A system screen appears and shows that his compatibility with the model has increased. He gets excited when he sees that one core strengthened him more than the expensive potion he bought. He cries with regret for having spent all his money on inefficient potions. Determined, he turns his frustration into motivation and decides to hunt all night. Activating his life field, he sends out energy waves to detect all nearby monsters. The next afternoon, his compatibility is at 9%, and he's carrying a bag of cores. He goes to sell his 20 white cores and 1 green one, leaving the receptionist shocked. He gives 1/10 of his haul to the government and gets 200,000 credits from the sale. With 9 days left until the entrance exam, he prepares to enter a D-class secret realm. Meanwhile, a group of mercenaries discusses needing one more member for their mission. The captain then introduces the new martial artist he hired, who is our protagonist. He introduces himself with the fake name of Dadzla and says he paid a high price for this identity. The group leader finds the name strange, but the boy says it was to avoid copyright issues. The captain warns him not to get in the way, and he agrees, thinking it's good that the rules have been set. The team then drives their jeep into the portal, determined to find the Blood Jade flower. Inside the realm, they discover that the flower is in an oasis guarded by a level 2 monster. He observes the desert landscape and notes that the realms connect to different worlds. Suddenly, a pack of earth demon rats starts chasing their vehicle. The captain orders a hooded member to take care of the creatures attacking them. The man gets ready and throws several darts with his claws towards the demon rats. These projectiles hit the monsters head-on, causing a series of powerful explosions. The jeep speeds up, leaving behind the dust and the defeated creatures. Our protagonist is impressed to see that the guy infused energy into the darts to make them explode. They finally get close to the oasis, which is their final destination in the middle of the desert. The team gets out of the vehicle and starts walking to approach the location quietly. Their captain explains that the monsters are sensitive to sound, and the car's engine would alert them. He then assigns tasks to each team member, preparing for the ambush. The captain tells Yahi to keep watch, and he agrees with a calm smile. A stun grenade is thrown, leaving a trail of smoke in the sky. The explosion releases pheromones that attract a furious monster, sensing its territory has been invaded. A huge level 2 earth dragon emerges from the dust, ready to attack. The captain prepares for battle with his swords stuck in the ground around him. He picks up one of his weapons and faces the beast with a serious and determined look. Another team member with a sinister smile also gets ready for the fight. The captain leaps and attacks the dragon with a precise and powerful sword strike. The monster is defeated, and the team celebrates their victory over the giant beast. Their leader then hurries them to continue advancing towards their objective. But suddenly, a giant claw appears from behind and attacks him by surprise. The captain is thrown far away by the impact of the creature's unexpected attack. The hooded young man quickly saves him, pushing the captain away from danger. He then jumps and delivers a devastating punch that creates a huge crater in the ground. The others are shocked to see a newcomer with the strength to shake a level 2 beast. The team congratulates him and thanks him for saving the captain from that situation. One of them holds the dragon's soul essence that they managed to collect. They comment that the essence is valuable and can greatly improve someone's model. The captain gets up and says it was a close call, but they got what they wanted. Suddenly, the man with sunglasses attacks him from behind with a malicious smile. The team panics upon seeing their captain betrayed and attacked by one of their own men. The leader asks what the traitor named Hugh D is doing, as he pushes him away with a kick. Hugh D replies that it's obvious, as he's just trying a way to get rich quick. Suddenly, a giant, intimidating bald man appears, revealing himself to be the boss behind the betrayal. One of the team members recognizes him as a famous thief who robs martial artists. The captain realizes he's been poisoned and questions how the traitors knew the flower's location. He then understands that the information was passed through the darts thrown earlier. The dart thrower calls him smart and tells him to go back to school instead of meddling where he's not wanted. He responds with a confident smile that a top student title waits him after the exam. He then lunges into an attack with a swift kick, and the traitor calls him arrogant. With a glowing eye, he says the real arrogant one is the bald man for barking in front of him. Putting on a mask, he concentrates energy in his hand, saying it's time to take out the trash. The gang leader finds the boy interesting and orders his henchmen to take care of him. Hudi then launches a shower of flaming projectiles towards our hero. Activating his power, he creates a blue energy shield that protects him from the attack. After the explosion, the team warns him to be careful, as the enemy has disappeared from sight. They shout that Hudi is coming from above with a powerful kick called the Mountain Slicer. He sees this as the perfect chance to test his new ability and concentrates energy in his fingers. He then fires a blue energy beam that hits the enemy head-on in mid-air. The captain is shocked and wonders how a newcomer defeated a strong warrior with a single blow. With a casual puff, he blows out the energy from his finger while Hudi lies on the ground. The bald man shouts in shock and asks which great family the boy is from to have a genetic technique. He summons a spectral dragon and says he's from the demon clan, while asking if the villain will beg for forgiveness. The villain transforms into a multi-armed shadow and warns that even with genetic techniques, he won't win. Then the bald man activates his tyrant black bear bloodline and prepares for combat. Using a martial technique, the villain completely transforms into a giant bear monster. He then charges forward and attacks the monster's leg with a bluish energy strike. Angrily, the bear monster punches the ground hard and creates a devastating shockwave. The young man notes that level 2 arts are strong, as his attack didn't melt the enemy's ankle. That powerful energy wave spreads across the entire battlefield in a circle. Then Ye asks if the villain is done and says it's his turn to attack now. He concentrates a huge amount of energy into his fist and prepares a mountain-crushing punch. The punch lands squarely on the monster's chest and releases an overwhelming blast of blue energy. After the attack, the villain returns to normal and falls defeated to the ground as Yi looks down on him. The team is completely shocked by the young man's strength and can't believe what they just saw. The bald man accuses the boy of using a toxic gas and curses him, saying he will be punished for it. With glowing eyes, our hero wonders who the villain thinks he is to be cursing him. The scene shifts to the city's central stadium, where the martial arts entrance exam is about to begin. An announcer explains that the exam will be a double elimination competition system, where the winner advances. Each student will have 3 fights in the qualifiers, and the best will compete until the grand champion is decided. The announcer says they are the future, and declares the official start of the exams with a big smile. In Arena number 1, we see 2 students exchanging fierce blows in the middle of an intense combat. Meanwhile, in Arena 4, a girl defends against a punch with her arm glowing with energy. But in Arena 6, one of the candidates is alone, as her opponent has not yet shown up for the fight. The commentator informs that the fighters are Huang Tongtong and Yi, but he is not in the ring. Huang Tongtong thinks the shame from the awakening wasn't enough, and that now she will humiliate our protagonist. The crowd starts mocking Yi, calling him a coward for not having the courage to show up and fight. The referee then blows the whistle and is about to declare that Yi has forfeited the match and lost by default. Suddenly, 2 important men sense a massive aura approaching and become alert. High in the sky, a ball of blue energy flies at high speed towards the stadium, shocking everyone. Inside the energy, we see Yi, who shocks everyone with his power that allows him to fly. He lands in the arena with a powerful impact, raising a cloud of dust and surprising Huang Tongtong. Startled by the sudden arrival, the girl shields herself from the impact and wonders what is happening. Huang Tongtong barely has time to react, as the boy's foot appears in front of her, ready for a devastating kick. With a single powerful kick, our hero sends a girl flying, knocking her out of the arena. Yi sighs in relief and says it was a close call, as he almost had to come back next year. Lying on the ground, Huang Tongtong is unconscious, and the referee declares Yi the winner of the match. The audience goes wild with his strength and comments that his entrance was very stylish and legendary. Yi thinks that the captain gave him a fruit that strengthened him, and now he's ready for whatever comes. On the tournament bracket, we see that he has advanced to the next stage and will fight someone named Long Tao. In the next fight against Long Tao, Yi lands a powerful kick to his opponent's stomach and wins. Soon after, he faces another opponent and defeats him with an impressive spinning kick. The crowd goes wild and nicknames him the One-Kick Superman, as he wins all his fights with a single blow. With a closed fist, he celebrates winning all 3 matches and advances to the 3rd round of the tournament. After the fights, several university recruiters try to get our protagonist's attention. Yi is surrounded by them as they all offer scholarships and ask for his contact information for the future. With a thoughtful look, he reflects on which would be his favorite university to attend. Then, with a confident smile, Yi says his choice is Hado University, the best of them all. The recruiters call him arrogant and leave, but he understands that the university is very selective. With a sly smile, he thinks he will show them his strength and see their faces when he wins the tournament. Suddenly, 2 men in suits approach him and ask for his cooperation to re-evaluate his martial level. The evaluator is shocked to see that he has reached the 9th level and accuses him of cheating for advancing so quickly. The man questions him for going to a dangerous secret realm before such an important exam. Yi explains that he went to find himself and that he broke his genetic lock during one of the battles. The 2 men are completely stunned and break into a cold sweat upon hearing about the broken genetic lock. They rush to report the news, and Yi realizes he has now become a person of interest. We see posts from various parents and friends wishing the students good luck on the exam. Sitting in a chair, he looks at his phone and sees the broadcasts with the students' relatives. Yi feels sad thinking that he has no one to cheer for him, as he is a lonely orphan. But elsewhere, his old teacher is watching the fight on TV and cheering for him with great excitement. Yi's next opponent is Luo Xuan, a guy famous for being #1 at his school. With glowing eyes, our protagonist offers the first move to his opponent. Luo Xuan asks if he doesn't know who he is, but Yi says the result will be the same. Laughing hard, Luo Xuan activates his bloodline and covers himself in an energy aura. He then charges forward with a lightning claw martial art and threatens our hero. The energy claw rapidly approaches Yi, who remains calm and still. But the young man blocks the attack with his own claw and says Luo Xuan is weaker than the bald guy. The opponent screams in pain as he feels his hand being crushed by our protagonist's grip. Without wasting time, Yi grabs him by the arm and lifts him into the air with ease. With a single move, he throws him to the ground, shattering the entire arena with the impact. The referee declares him the winner as he wonders if there are any decent competitors. Luo Xuan is unconscious, and everyone is shocked that he defeated the favorite so quickly. The audience comments that his skills are on another level, and that he is a true master. Everyone shouts Yi's name and supports him, saying he will definitely make it to the finals. As Luo Xuan is carried away on a stretcher, Chuzhou watches him from a distance. With a confident smile, Chuzhou vows that he will defeat Yi in the final round. At Huadu University, a man orders his staff to get information on the boy. The scene then shifts to another arena, where the fights of the second group are taking place. A girl named Kei Shelling, the queen of her school, taunts her opponent. Her opponent is Lu Qingju, known as the unattainable flower, and everyone admires the fight. The referee blows the whistle, and the match between the 2 girls finally begins in the stadium. Kei Xiaoling charges forward and says she'll see if the other girl can keep her composure when she's on the ground. With glowing eyes, Lu Qingji uses his secret family ability to defend herself. She then blocks her opponent's attack with a powerful, glowing blue energy shield. The two exchange a series of quick and acrobatic blows in the middle of the battle arena. Kei Xiaoling gets annoyed with the defense and uses a swift step ability to attack. Finding an opening, she attacks but realizes she has fallen into her opponent's trap. Desperate, Kei Xiaoling notices her hand is stuck in an air current and she can't get free. Lu Qingju seizes the opportunity and prepares a powerful attack with her finger glowing with energy. The commentator is shocked to see a student master such an advanced and powerful technique. In response, Kei Xiaoling activates her bloodline and summons the aura of a giant tiger. They say she awakened a third-level royal bloodline and that her future is limitless. Transformed, Kei Xiaoling demands that the others show her true phoenix bloodline to fight. With a calm look, Lu Qingju replies that what she has already shown is more than enough. Her opponent becomes furious and asks if she thinks someone below the martial artist level can beat her. The two then clash again in a confrontation of auras and martial skills. Lu Qingji uses a quick movement technique to dodge her opponent's attack. Kei Xiaoling doesn't give up and attacks with a powerful tiger kick to immobilize her opponent. With focused eyes, Lu Qingju once again prepares her primordial chaos jade finger attack. She then fires a concentrated energy beam from her finger towards her enemy. The collision of energies creates a massive explosion that covers the entire arena in a cloud of dust. The audience is tense about the battle's outcome and wonders who the winner will be. As the dust settles, we see that Kei Xiaoling is still standing in the middle of the ring, but suddenly her expression changes completely, and a drop of sweat runs down her face. The fighter then faints from exhaustion, and Lu Qingxiu is revealed as the true victor of the fight. The referee declares her the winner, and the crowd goes wild over her talent and rare bloodline. The scene then shifts to the tournament bracket draw with the top 8 competitors. Our protagonist is called to draw and places his hand on one of the spheres. He then picks the ball and reveals he is in Group A for the next phase of the tournament. A muscular guy, Shen Guan, approaches and says he's also in Group A and that they will face each other. Shen Guan says they are the second fight and suggests they watch the first match. They watch the fight, and the muscular guy comments that the fighter Luo Sai is very strong and skilled. But to everyone's surprise, the other fighter wins, and Shen Guan asks if he knows him. Elsewhere, the principal of the loser's school is furious for being defeated right away. Our hero then asks Shen Guan how the defeated fighter compares to him in strength. The big guy boasts, saying he's the club president, and that not even 2 of his classmates together could beat him. With a serious look, Shen Guan reveals that to him, our protagonist is the only real threat in the exam. He says his senses are sharp and that he feels a dormant beast inside the young man. Then with a confident smile, Shen Guan calls out to him, as it's now their turn to fight. The two then step into the arena and prepare for the second match of the top 8 tournament. The announcer calls the fight between Shen Guan and our protagonist, who face each other with a smile. At this moment, the competition to determine the top 4 students in the city is in full swing. He and Shen Guan exchange fierce blows and an energy explosion shows they are equally strong. The fight is so intense that the audience is shocked by the speed and strength of the two. With a bleeding nose, Shen Guan asks if this is an ability from the boy's bloodline. He finds the power to destroy cells mysterious, and his opponent shields himself from the nuclear radiation. With glowing eyes, he thinks his opponent is a monster and the fight won't be easy. Shen Guan then reveals his family's martial art, summoning the auras of powerful animals. He concentrates energy in his fists and prepares to use a technique called Deer's Peak. Our hero is surprised by the attack's speed and barely has time to react. The punch hits him squarely and sends him flying, creating a crater in the arena floor. He then spits out some blood, showing how powerful the blow he just took was. To avoid being thrown out, he plants his feet on the ground, further breaking the arena floor. Shen Guan summons the aura of a bear and warns that the young man won't be able to escape the blow. With a devastating punch, he attacks from above, trying to crush the protagonist into the ground. But Yi blocks the attack and thinks that his previous opponents lacked experience. We see the young man recovering from the blow and preparing to counter-attack with his energy. Shen Guan grabs him and says he can lock his martial energy, leaving him defenseless. Then, with incredible strength, he throws him into the air, preparing to finish the fight. Summoning the aura of a fire tiger, the brute prepares for an overwhelming attack. Shen Guan attacks with the tiger's pounce and hits the boy squarely in mid-air. Immediately after, he summons an eagle and dives for a devastating aerial attack. His opponent shouts that the young man can't beat him, while Yi shields himself from the blow. Shen Guan's attack causes an energy explosion that destroys the arena floor. Satisfied with his combo, the big guy laughs and boasts about having won the fight easily. The medical team prepares to enter, as the winner seems to have already been decided. Suddenly, Shen Guan is startled to see a light shining in the dust on the floor. A huge amount of dark blue aura explodes from within the crater in the ring. A monstrous claw emerges from the smoke, and our hero admits that his rival is strong. Yi then reveals his complete Demora monster transformation, covered in lightning. He warns that if it's any consolation, his opponent is the first to see him in this form. Shen Guan is shocked to see the personification of a magical beast in front of him. He can't believe the boy's bloodline awakening has reached such a high level. One of the examiners monitoring the fight notices something strange in his headphones. He is startled to see that the nuclear radiation level is completely off the charts. Because of this, the examiners create a barrier to prevent an energy leak. The audience gets excited and wonders what magical beast the boy managed to awaken. He understands that no one knows the monster, as it doesn't exist in this world. Shenguan's nose bleeds, and he realizes he can no longer block the energy. With no other choice, he also activates his golden monkey demon bloodline to fight. Shenguan attacks with a serpent strike, but our hero faces him without fear. He then counterattacks with his own martial art in a clash of energies. Using his mountain-trapping fist, he lands a devastating blow on his opponent. With an injured hand, Shenguan regrets it as his arm was almost destroyed in the attack. He praises him for his strength but warns that unfortunately it won't change the outcome. That fight is between the third-level royal bloodline and an unknown magical beast. Shenguan realizes he can no longer suppress the boy's energy and decides to retreat to attack. Flying towards him, our hero warns the big guy not to get distracted during the fight. He then unleashes a sequence of blue energy attacks that hit the enemy squarely. Without giving up, Shenguan prepares another serpent attack with his hand glowing gold. But our protagonist catches the blow with his monstrous claw, stopping him from advancing. He explains that his goal was to reposition himself to get behind his opponent. We then see the young man's foot kicking the ground, creating a foothold for his next move. Suddenly, a giant energy foot appears to try and crush the boy once and for all. Using his agility, he runs up the giant legs to dodge the devastating attack. Shenguan then slams the arena floor hard to try and hit him with the impact. With a focused look, the big guy carefully watches his opponent's movements. Our hero stands with his arms crossed, waiting for the right moment to strike. The floor shatters beneath his feet, and he warns that it's now his turn to show his power. He then fires a blue energy beam from his mouth and an overwhelming breath attack. The beam hits the floor, as Shenguan is kneeling with his mask on his chin. Kneeling on the ground, the opponent bows and declares his surrender to our hero. He gets annoyed and complains that he was ready to fight, but now the surrender has made him uncomfortable. Sighing in frustration, he cancels his attack and decides to let the fight go. He then releases the rest of the energy from his mouth and complains that it's tough having to hold back his power. Returning to normal, the referee declares him the winner, and he stands still with smoke around him. The crowd goes wild with the victory, and everyone shouts that Brother Y is amazing. We see a meme showing Shenguan confident before the fight and crying afterward, apologizing. On social media, several fan groups are created, and everyone believes he will be the champion. In his office, the other school's principal is furious, as he had placed his hopes on the loser. He yells at Shenguan and threatens him, telling him not to even think about going to college. The muscular guy then places a hand on the principal's shoulder, who is startled by the sudden touch. Shenguan explains that he surrendered to avoid injury and warns the man not to threaten a warrior. The principal is terrified and sweating as he agrees with what the young man just said. We then see the screen showing the 4 finalists of the tournament, which are Yuhi and 3 others. Our hero's school principal celebrates with a fan and thinks about promoting the old teacher. His former teacher shouts with excitement as the draw for the semifinals begins. Our protagonist draws his ball and realizes he will be fighting in the first match again. Immediately after, Liu Qingju also draws the first match to everyone's surprise. The screen announces the fight between the two, and the audience gets excited for the most anticipated showdown. The audience thinks Liu Qingju has a chance to win, as she has mastered 2 mysterious royal martial arts. Meanwhile, they speculate that Yihee's bloodline is also 4th level and very powerful. Back in the semifinals arena, the crowd is excited for the start of the big fight. The referee announces the entrance of the 2 competitors from the same school for the grand combat. Without wasting time, the referee gives the signal, and the most anticipated battle of the tournament finally begins. Right at the start, our protagonist is thrown back by an energy explosion. Amidst the smoke, Liu Qingju remains calm and serene, carefully observing the situation. Suddenly, a huge shadowy figure with glowing eyes appears in the smoke behind her. With a serious look, Liu Qingju faces him and hopes he is strong enough for the fight. He releases a cloud of steam, and the audience is confused because they can't see anything. The commentator gets excited and wonders how Liu Qingju will handle the dark horse of the exam. Observing her silhouette, he notes that her arts are superior and he can't harm her. He realizes he needs to go all out from the beginning to have a chance of winning. Without hesitation, the young man concentrates his energy and prepares his powerful mountain punch. Liu Qingju then prepares to use her martial arts to defend and counter-attack. With his eyes glowing intensely, he gets ready to deliver the blow with all his strength. He attacks, but the girl realizes she's been tricked, as it wasn't a punch, but a whip. Liu Qingju is surprised because he shouted it was a punch but ended up using a steel whip. Suddenly, his monster form appears and opens its mouth for an overwhelming energy attack. Taking advantage of the distraction, he charges forward with a blue energy punch to hit her squarely. The audience complains that the boy is cheating and that the fight is unfair to the girl. With a spinning punch, he hits her head on and continues his sequence of fierce attacks. Liu Qingju has no chance to escape as the boy's blows are too fast and powerful. Fallen on the ground, she is cornered by an energy claw attack that holds her in place. She manages to break free with her energy, but he says he won't let her get away. He then pursues her with a series of energy punches that pressure her more and more. Frightened, Liu Qingju realizes he is using claws filled with martial energy to attack her. She manages to dodge one of the blows but loses her balance for a brief moment. Next, she blocks another attack with her hand but is thrown back by the impact. Wearing a scary mask, he corners her and tells her not to try to run from the fight. He bombards her with a shower of energy punches without giving her time to breathe. Lu Qingju shields herself from the attacks and is impressed by her opponent's physical strength. She thinks about how she has mastered two mysterious arts, one for defense and another for powerful attacks. But she realizes he's not giving her a chance to use either of them, and she's at a disadvantage. Cornered at the edge of the arena, Lu Qingju knows she can't hold on much longer and needs to act. With no other option, the girl decides to use her trump card to try to turn the tables. Holding a purple feather, she prepares to reveal her last and most powerful asset. With a determined look, Lu Qingju knows this is her only chance to win the fight. She then activates the awakening of her halberd bloodline, releasing a purple aura. A huge shadowy bird silhouette appears behind her, ready for the final battle. Awakening her bloodline, Lu Qingju reveals her halberd transformation for the first time. With her hand glowing, she warns him to be careful, as she can't control her strength in this form. Smiling, he says that so far he's only used 5% of his strength and that he's going all out. Suddenly, purple feathers attack him from behind, but he senses the danger in time to defend himself. With her wings spread, Lu Qingju uses her mysterious jade finger martial art to attack. He then counterattacks with his powerful atomic explosion fist without hesitation. The clash of blows causes a blue and purple energy explosion that illuminates the entire arena. The audience is blinded by the impact, and everyone covers their eyes to shield themselves from the bright light. Lu Qingju is thrown back by the force of the explosion and screams as she flies through the air. With her eyes wide with surprise, she can't believe the power she just witnessed. Our protagonist then releases a large amount of energy that shatters the arena floor. In his monster form, he prepares to use his most powerful attack of all. That energy spreads throughout the entire arena, an impressive scene of power and destruction. Lu Qingju feels the energy fluctuation and realizes the situation is not good for her at all. She then watches the true form of Yihe's magical beast preparing for the attack. The spikes on its back begin to glow intensely, storing an enormous amount of energy. This energy is then gradually transmitted to the mouth of our transformed hero. Yihe fires an atomic breath beam with unimaginable and overwhelming destructive power. Lu Qingju stands still in front of the attack and is engulfed by the silhouette of the energy blast. The beam hits her squarely and a large explosion of purple and golden energy occurs on impact. At the last second, she awakens a latent ability and manages to protect herself from the attack. A massive explosion occurs and the energy beam hits the arena floor with force. Using her feathers, Lu Qingju manages to deflect the attack and spread the energy throughout the stadium. The announcer is stunned to see that the attack was deflected and several beams hit the arena. The audience panics and protects themselves from the energy beams flying in their direction. Suddenly, a golden honeycomb-shaped shield appears to protect everyone in the stadium. The attack is completely blocked, and the energy dissipates without harming anyone in the audience. The city's mayor appears covered in a golden aura, revealing himself as everyone's savior. He tells everyone to watch carefully, as the greatest champion in the city's history is about to be born. The commentator thanks the mayor, and everyone calms down with the protection he offered. On the arena floor, a pool of blood forms, showing that someone was injured in the attack. Lu Qingju is standing, but her clothes are torn, and her body is covered in injuries. Shocked, she wonders if she can really beat the boy, as he broke through her defense. Suddenly, she remembers her ancestors telling her that she cannot lose the fight. Her mother also appears in her memories and says that she needs to revive the Lu family. The mother says that the girl needs to keep winning, not just now, but also in the future. Tired of all the pressure, Lu Qingju admits to herself that she is completely exhausted. She then looks at Yihe, who is covered in energy, and admits that he is very powerful. With glowing eyes, she thinks it's natural that she can't beat such a strong opponent. Taking advantage of the weakness she is showing, Lu Qingju challenges him to defeat her quickly. She hits him in the chest with an energy punch, but he doesn't move an inch. Shocked, Lu Qingju asks why he didn't dodge the attack and is completely confused. Yahe then questions her and asks where all her fighting spirit from before has gone. With her eyes full of tears, she is left speechless by her hero's question. He asks if she even looked at him properly during the entire fight they had. Angrily, he shouts that he will win the title fair and square with no forfeits. Lu Qingju looks at him with glowing eyes and realizes he is being very serious. He then hits her with a powerful punch that sends her flying back with incredible force. With his fingers glowing, he warns her to start taking him more seriously. He attacks her several times and complains that she is a bad person for hitting him like that. Trapped in an ice dome, Lu Qingju gets annoyed and asks why he insists on continuing to fight. Suddenly, a purple energy explosion frees her, and she shouts for him not to hit her in the face. With a confident smile, he says that if she doesn't want to get hit, she'd better start fighting seriously. Lu Qingju then unleashes all her power and completely transforms into a hellbird. She reveals the true form of her magical beast and promises to defeat him with her maximum power. With huge wings, Lu Qingju flies above him and looks down, ready for the final confrontation. With an excited smile, he says that now things have finally gotten more interesting. He then transforms back into his monster form and releases a blue aura. He activates an ability called Nuclear-like Combat Body to strengthen himself. Floating in the air, he calls her for a good fight and prepares for the last attack. With her wings spread, Lu Qingju prepares for a tearing hurricane attack and charges forward. The attack creates a purple energy tornado that moves towards our protagonist. He then dodges the blow and flies over the tornado to escape the massive attack. He then counterattacks with a powerful explosive punch full of blue energy. Lu Qingju then releases energy from her mouth in a devastating and powerful sonic scream. This attack spreads in energy rings, and the aura of a giant bird appears behind her. The energy wave clashes with our protagonist, who is in the middle of the battle arena. Yi then flies towards her and prepares for a claw attack to counter. Angrily, he asks if she thinks she's the only one who knows how to shout loudly in a fight. The spikes on his back glow intensely, storing a huge amount of energy. With glowing eyes, Lu Qingju says she will not back down and will release her strongest move. She then prepares to face him head-on with all her power, without hesitation. The two fire their most powerful attacks in a clash of energy that illuminates everything. Lu Qingju uses her Bloodline ability to create a blood spike attack. She launches a barrage of purple spikes that fly towards our protagonist. The two attacks collide in the middle of the arena, forming two powerful energy impacts. The commentator worries as the collision of power is too strong for them to control. The mayor then uses his genetic technique to prepare to intervene if necessary. He creates a divine wall to protect everyone from the coming energy explosion. The explosion happens and destroys the wall, but it manages to protect the audience from the impact. The audience is shocked by the impact and wonders if it was the mayor who created the wall. Everyone comments that if it weren't for him, they all would have become collateral victims. The mayor thinks that his walls weren't that solid and is surprised by the two candidates. A bloodied hand appears in the dust, showing that the fight had a messy outcome. Lu Qingju is on the ground with her arm injured, as her body's power has been depleted. With a determined look, she says she can't give up, as she can still fight much more. Suddenly, a foot steps in front of her and shatters the arena floor with a single step. Our protagonist emerges from the smoke and looks down at her as she lies on the ground. He warns her that if she doesn't get rid of the radiation in her body, she will be crippled in the future. Lu Qingju remains silent, not knowing what to say in the situation she is in. With tears in her eyes, she complains about why he forced her to fight so seriously. He kneels in front of her and looks at her with a serious and questioning gaze. He asks if she really didn't want to fight, or if she was just being rebellious and spiritless. Lu Qingju is speechless and cannot answer the question he just asked. She thinks that he was right, as she was thinking about defeating him at that moment. The fighter admits to herself that's why she gave up her defense and used all her strength. Lu Qingju then realizes she felt the euphoria of fighting for herself and not for her family. With her face blushing in embarrassment, she feels awkward about what she just discovered about herself. He then helps her heal and says that she has too many thoughts that distract her. He explains that's why she lost, and the girl is surprised to see her arm healed. Walking away, he admits that she is the strongest opponent he has ever faced so far. With a smile, he says that next time he wants to have the purest battle with her, with no distractions. With her face blushing in embarrassment, Lu Qingju is left speechless and just watches him walk away. As the smoke clears, we see that our protagonist is the only one left standing in the arena. The referee then declares him the winner of the first match of the tournament's semifinals. Shortly after, Chuzhou wins his fight, and the battle for the title is about to begin. The screen announces the grand final between Yahe, the dark horse, and Chuzhou, the competition's favorite. The live broadcast of the fight reaches almost 50 million concurrent viewers. Chuzhou then creates an ice sword and prepares for the start of the great battle. With a wicked smile, our hero challenges him to come at him with everything he's got. Chuzhou creates several ice clones and advances for a coordinated attack. Without moving, our protagonist is attacked from all sides by the ice clones. He then concentrates his energy and prepares for an explosive atomic fist attack. With a single punch, he unleashes an energy explosion that destroys all the clones at once. Chuzhou realizes that he used an area of effect attack so he wouldn't have to look for his real body. Shocked, he thinks that even with his defensive ability, he couldn't fight the boy head-on. The blue-haired young man decides that if he can't fight up close, he will tire him out with long-range attacks. Chuzhou then summons the aura of an ice dragon and prepares to use his Bloodline ability. With an ice pulse attack, he launches a freezing energy blast towards He. A huge ice dragon appears in the arena, and the audience goes wild at the display of power. The attack freezes our hero and forms a huge iceberg in the middle of the battle arena. Chuzhou admits that using such a large amount of ice power comes at a high cost to his body. Suddenly, the iceberg begins to melt, and a bright light emerges from within. An explosion of yellow and blue energy shatters the iceberg into 1,000 pieces in the air. Shocked, Chuzhou can't believe he managed to break free so easily. Our hero then fires an energy sphere that destroys the remaining ice crystals. A bluish explosion occurs and clears the entire arena of the debris from the previous attack. In his monster form, he warns that the ice dragon's power never worked on him. In his complete form, he says it seems to nullify him a bit in the battle between them. His opponent realizes that the difference in strength between them is too great to be overcome. Chuzhou then decides to use his final move, which he was saving for the fight against Lu Qingju. He creates a giant ice sword and prepares for the final attack. The mayor is impressed by the young man's sword intent and his immense strength. With a powerful blow, Chuzhou attacks our protagonist with all his strength at once. The attack cuts through the air, leaving a trail of blue energy, and a drop of blood falls to the ground. Our hero catches the sword with his claw and says he might have a chance with a better weapon. Shocked, Chuzhou cries out in pain as he sees his ice sword being shattered into pieces. The shards of the sword fall to the ground, and he can't believe what just happened. With a sad look, he asks how much of a chance he will have to win in the future. Smiling, our hero replies, maybe little more than becoming successful livestock. Chujo then raises his hand and surrenders as he has no way to win the fight anymore. With no one left to face, our hero is declared the grand winner of the exam finals. In a live broadcast, his classmates celebrate his victory and shout that he is amazing. He then became the great dark horse of the competition and surprised everyone with his power. His fame spreads throughout the city, and everyone comments that no one will be able to surpass him in the future. Back in the arena, the crowd goes wild and chants the grand champion's name in unison. The announcer introduces him, and Yi thinks with relief that his goal has finally been accomplished. A reporter interviews him, and he thinks they are describing his cheat in a very subtle way. With a smile on his face, he thanks his former teacher for never giving up on him. Watching the broadcast, his former teacher cries and feels guilty for not noticing his potential. Suddenly, he sees his principal waving with several arms and is surprised by the scene. The man then offers him a 2 million scholarship to promote the school. With dollar signs in his eyes, he thanks the school and says he wouldn't be there without the principal. Finally, he thanks himself for his hard work and wisdom throughout the journey. A system screen congratulates him and rewards him with a random model ability. With glowing eyes, he realizes that his model also has an achievement system. The scene then shifts to the stadium hallway, which is completely empty and silent. As he leaves, he is surrounded by a crowd of reporters and asks them to leave him alone. A journalist asks him which of the girls he finds more beautiful, and he gets confused. With no time to waste on silly questions, the young man decides to flee from the crowd of reporters. He manages to shake off the journalists and hides in an empty basketball court. Relieved, he celebrates getting rid of them and thinks about his system rewards. Suddenly, a mysterious figure congratulates him, and he is startled, thinking it's another reporter. The man takes off his hat and introduces himself as an envoy from Huadu University, here to speak with him. With a serious look, the envoy says they need to talk about the issue of genetic locks. Our hero is shocked by the mention of genetic locks and wonders how he knows about it. He thinks his abilities came from the monster model and questions the man's identity. The man then asks if he heard about the locks from his father, and the boy confirms the information. The envoy questions how a common taxi driver would know about something so secret and takes out an envelope. Our protagonist then understands that there might be a big secret behind his father's story. The man hands him the document and says that due to his special situation, he can have access to it. With his eyes wide with surprise, the young man opens the envelope and begins to read the secret document. It is written about a research institution called Prometheus, which was banned due to an incident. Angrily, he asks if they think his father was a researcher and that he is an experiment. The man calms him down and says the country won't make things difficult and that he had the right to know. He explains that as an important talent for the country, our hero's safety will always be guaranteed. With a funny face, he thinks that society adapts quickly and that fame brings problems. After delivering the message, the man says goodbye and leaves, leaving our hero alone. Alone, he celebrates having earned a lot of money and a spot at the university he wanted. But the most important thing is that now he can finally draw a new model ability from the system. A huge purple energy sphere appears in front of him as he begins the gacha draw. With glowing eyes, he is completely shocked by the amount of power he is feeling. The energy then condenses and forms a mysterious card, revealing his new ability. A giant and scary humanoid monster appears and the screen reveals it to be a D-rank model. The system screen shows that he has obtained the superhumanoid giant model with several abilities. With glowing eyes, he wonders what would happen if he combined his two models. With a wicked smile, he vows that with this combination, he will become the true king of monsters. Elsewhere, the bald man he defeated in the secret realm cancels all his appointments. Suddenly, he punches the table in anger and creates a hole with the force of his fist. The impact of the blow shows all his frustration and the hatred he is feeling at the moment. With a furious look and glowing eyes, the villain seems to be plotting something terrible. A man in a special suit informs him that they didn't find his brother's body in the secret realm, but they found a small amount of nuclear radiation at the location where he disappeared. The villain then remembers the promise he made to his mother to take care of his younger brother. With a wicked smile, he says it's a shame as the boy won't be able to enroll in college. Back at school, a mysterious delivery arrives for our protagonist who is training. He picks up the mail and thinks he needs to go to a secret realm to test his new model. In the letter, there is an invitation from Chuzhou for them to form a team and explore a new secret realm. With a disgusted look, he complains about receiving a letter and wonders if the guy is a time traveler. The scene then shifts to Redwood Mountain in An City, with a beautiful sunset on the horizon. Arriving at the mountain, he is impressed by the crowd of warriors gathered there. Shortly after, Chuzhou spots him in the crowd and greets him. The young man comments that he has gotten stronger, and the protagonist thinks about using his money to evolve. Then our hero asks him which university he will apply to in the future. Chuzhou replies that he's going to Hodu, and the protagonist notices that his mood seems a bit strange. Suddenly, a huge purple portal opens in the sky, announcing the opening of the secret realm. From within the portal, a bizarre three-headed creature with glowing green eyes appears. The monster then flies over the mountain, and all the warriors watch, shocked by its size. One of the warriors shouts for everyone to attack the creature and invade the secret realm with everything they've got. Without hesitation, the warriors leap into the air and charge forward to attack the monster with their weapons. The creature is terrified by so many enemies and tries to retreat, but cannot escape. A purple feather falls to the ground as the monster is completely taken down by the warriors. The scene then shifts to inside the secret realm with a forest of red trees. Our protagonist and his group walk through the forest in search of monsters to hunt. Suddenly, he smells a strong scent of blood in the air and becomes alert to the situation. Shortly after, a horde of demonic beasts appears, and he realizes they were waiting for them. All the warriors prepare for battle and are forced to fight because of national law. One of the warriors attacks a blue monster with a powerful punch full of flaming energy. Elsewhere, a group of warriors faces a giant purple monster in an intense fight. Shujo then prepares his ice sword and activates his bloodline ability. With his sword, he attacks and freezes two monsters with a powerful energy blast. Suddenly, a bizarre creature with sharp claws leaps towards him for a surprise attack. But our hero appears and takes down the monster with a powerful and precise atomic explosion punch. Yehi tells him to be careful, and Shujo thanks him for the help during the battle. On top of a pile of bones, they comment that none of those beasts were worth fighting. Shocked, Shujo wonders how our protagonist managed to defeat so many monsters. He realizes that the boy used radiation to melt the flesh and blood of the creatures on sight. With a blue aura around him, our hero floats in the air after defeating a few more enemies. Other warriors wonder how the fight ended so quickly and find out about the boy. One of them doubts that a student can be so strong, but the other scolds him for his ignorance. The warriors then decide to lead the remaining monsters towards our protagonist. A flare goes up into the sky and everyone celebrates as the beast horde begins to retreat. Shujo comments that out of 1,000 warriors, only 800 remain. Carrying a bag of cores, the protagonist wonders how he'll carry everything, and the other is shocked by the amount. Shujo then offers his storage ring, and our hero is surprised by his wealth. Suddenly, a group of warriors returns, and the two watch the new arrivals. The others thank Yehi, as he defeated the strongest monsters of the horde by himself. A man approaches and introduces himself as the leader of the Silver Wolf martial arts group. He invites Yehi to join his group and offers him an S-level contract with benefits. Everyone is shocked, as not even students from Hadu get a contract like that. Suddenly, a woman on a purple tiger appears and accuses him of rushing to recruit the boy. She then invites Yehi to her group and offers him 15% of the monthly training resources. The other warriors are shocked by the offer, as the two largest groups are fighting over the boy. With a calm look, our hero refuses both offers and says he won't join anyone. The two leaders shake his hand and become his friends, but Yehi thinks about the man's dirty hand. With the horde defeated, they decide to explore the forest and plan to climb the trees to survey the area. The two then leap into the air with incredible speed and fly towards the top of the forest. On top of the trees, they observe the landscape and the cloudy sky of the mysterious secret realm. Suddenly, Shujo spots something on the horizon and wonders what it could be. In the distance, they see the silhouette of a giant creature more than 1,000 meters tall. With a confident smile, the protagonist says that in a few years, they will conquer all the realms. Shujo is impressed by his confidence, as he himself would feel fear of such a being. He calls him a true warrior, while our hero only thinks about getting his friend's cores. Using his magnetic field, he detects an empty area in the southeast of the secret realm. He thinks that where there's smoke, there's fire, and that the greater the danger, the better the reward. He points to the southeast and tells his companion that there is a lake in that direction. They then arrive at a lake with crystal clear waters, surrounded by dark and twisted trees. With a smile, the boy greets someone named Sister Yuli, and Shujo is very confused. 3 warriors recognize him as the champion, and one of them asks the woman to introduce him. Our hero asks how long they have been there, and the woman says she just arrived. Suddenly, 2 companions emerge from the water, and our hero watches the scene intently. With a shout of joy, the man announces that they are going to be rich, as there is a relic at the bottom of the lake. The man and the woman celebrate the discovery and get excited about the chance to become truly rich. He wonders what relics are, and Shujo explains that they are mysterious and ancient constructions. Suddenly, the man notices someone else's presence and becomes alert to the situation. The guy accuses them of spying, but the woman stops him and says they are the exam champions. She explains that their strength is great and that the two can help in exploring the ruins. The man asks about dividing the spoils, and the protagonist suggests it be based on effort. The guy reluctantly agrees and thinks it's better not to pick a fight with future big shots. The group then dives into the lake to begin exploring the mysterious underwater relic. They swim through an underwater cave and find the ruins on the other side of the passage. Inside the cave, the man notices that one of his companions named Lu Wei is no longer there. He tries to contact him by radio but gets no response and becomes worried by the silence. He asks if they saw any monsters, but the woman says they used bait and nothing appeared. The woman with glasses says the place is dangerous and questions if they should continue the exploration. Shouting, the leader says they must continue and that the cowards can leave right now. The rest of the team remains silent and seems determined to continue the dangerous mission. Since no one gave up, the group moves forward together through a dark and narrow corridor of the cave. At the end of the corridor, a bright white light catches the attention of all the explorers. Our protagonist then stares at the light with a serious and suspicious look about what it might be. Secretly, our hero tells Shujo that the timeline of the story doesn't match reality. He says it's if they had a cheat to find the cave so quickly. Shujo suggests they warn their acquaintance and run, but the protagonist has a plan. With a weak smile, he tells his friend not to worry, as he has a card up his sleeve. Suddenly, they come across a nest of giant green vines, and the group is startled by the scene. One of the warriors notices a skeleton and realizes the aquatic monsters were devoured a long time ago. The woman asks the leader where the relic he promised they would find there is. Pointing to the ceiling, the girl with glasses screams upon seeing something terrifying trapped in the vines. They then see Li Wei's body hanging and realize he fell victim to the carnivorous plants. The two women scream in terror upon seeing their companion's body dealt with in that way. The leader despairs and wonders where the relic he swore was there has gone. Suddenly, he starts to feel something strange and notices that the vines are climbing up his body. In the blink of an eye, the vines burst from within him in a completely shocking scene. The team is horrified to see their leader being possessed and turning into a vine monster. But before he can attack, a blue light hits him squarely and completely destroys him. Our protagonist then fires a powerful energy beam that disintegrates the monster instantly. With smoke coming from his mouth, he is impressed by the intelligence of the creature that tricked them. He understands that the monster used the warrior as bait to lure more prey to its nest. The creature then blocks the cave exit with a waterfall to prevent them from escaping. Chuzhou remembers reading about a phantom demon vine, a king monster. The woman is startled by the monster's class, but our hero says he will pulverize it. Suddenly, a threatening voice calls out to him and says it is there to end his life. Immediately after, the cave ceiling explodes and a mysterious figure emerges from the dust. The bald man he defeated before appears covered in a red 8th level aura. Our hero then wonders if there's anyone else who misses him enough to show up like this. The villain explains that he learned about the use of radiation and followed the traces to find him. Even by hiding in the cave, our protagonist couldn't shake his pursuer. With a mocking look, he asks who the uncle is and if they know each other from somewhere. Annoyed by the taunt, the bald man lunges to attack but is caught by the monster's vines. He realizes he was lured into the creature's nest and that it was all a trap. Angrily, the villain shouts and accuses the young man of planning everything so he would get caught. Our hero just watches the scene and thinks the uncle has a lot of drama for a first meeting. Furious, the bald man releases his energy and complains that his target is the boy, not the vines. Their fight is so intense that the woman screams as the cave is about to collapse. She then turns and shouts for everyone to get out of the way and escape the collapse. With no other choice, our protagonist transforms and prepares to intervene in the fight. He then fires a powerful blue energy beam that opens a hole in the cave ceiling. The attack goes through the waterfall and creates an escape route for everyone to get out. Looking back, Yi tells Sister Yuli and her group to leave first through the opening. But the villain, covered in a fire aura, shouts that he won't let anyone escape alive. Chu Zhao then uses his sword and 10 ability to attack the villain. With his sword in hand, he says that no one will touch a single hair on his friend's head. The bald man scoffs at the attack and asks if he thinks a hailstorm will hurt an 8th level warrior. But our hero takes advantage of the distraction and attacks him from above with a powerful and surprising punch. He then concentrates his energy and uses his explosive atomic punch with all his strength. The bluish energy explosion sends the villain flying and shows the young man's full power. Chu Zhou advises him to run as the enemy is too strong for him to face now. But our protagonist tells him to leave the bald man to him and prepares for the fight. Outside, the group that escaped watches the lake being churned up by the fight happening below. The woman then asks where our hero is, and Chu Zhou becomes worried. With a sweaty face and a tense look, he doesn't know what to answer and just stares at the lake. Suddenly, a huge bluish energy explosion happens at the bottom of the lake in an overwhelming fashion. Our hero emerges in his giant form and prepares for the final showdown with the villain. The bald man is hit by the explosion, and his body begins to be disintegrated by the energy. Chu Zhou watches the scene, shocked, and protects the woman from the attack's shockwave. A storm of lightning and blue energy covers the entire sky of the secret realm in a frightening way. From the middle of the waves, our hero emerges in his giant form and asks his friend for clothes. He explains that the mysterious warrior blew himself up with a plasma bomb and took the monster with him. Chu Zhou comments that he saw a giant in the smoke, but the protagonist dismisses it, saying it was his imagination. Relieved, he thinks that luckily he managed to fool them and that he got the demon vine's core. The woman says goodbye and promises to compensate him, but he says it was a favor being repaid. With a wicked smile, he and Chu Zhou get ready, because now it's time to hunt monsters. 3 days later, the two leave the secret realm through the entrance on Redwood Mountain. Stepping onto the asphalt, he is surprised by the rapid change of the place in such a short time. With wide eyes, the two are shocked to see the city that has formed there. He is impressed by the infrastructure and the country's ability to develop so quickly. At the appraisal center, Chu drops a giant bag of cores on the table. With a smile, our hero says he needs to get everything out quickly so the appraisal can finish soon. He then uses his storage ring and prepares to take out all the cores he collected. He starts taking out several bags from inside the ring and throws them on the center's floor. The appraiser is shocked by the amount and asks if he's there to move. With a sweaty and scared face, the woman asks if he's done taking out all the bags. With a mischievous look, he says he still has many spiritual medicines to take out of the ring. At the medicine appraisal center, the experts are shocked by the rare plants he found. Everyone comments on the boy's luck and how he became a rich man overnight. Observing the scene, our hero thinks that now he can exchange all his cores for money. He then thinks about his biggest gains, which were the blue cores and the one from the demon vine. With With the course sold, he now needs to find a buyer for his spiritual medicines. Suddenly, a luxury car stops in front of him, and two mysterious men get out of the vehicle. A man introduces himself as the head of Ping Pharmacy and offers to buy his medicines. He thinks his information was leaked, but that it saved him the trouble of finding a buyer. After the sale, the man leaves and tells the boy to look for him if he has more medicines. The young man receives the payment and thinks that all this money doesn't compare to increasing his strength. He complains that his model has a demanding appetite and that there's no way to buy expensive items. With glowing eyes, he realizes there is another way to get stronger and thinks about martial arts. He remembers how he defeated Lu Qingju in the exam and decides he needs to obtain dominating martial arts. Running at high speed, he goes to the school to get his money from the principal. The scene then shifts to the principal's office at An City No. 1 Middle School. We see the principal preparing tea in his office while waiting for his guest to arrive. Our hero arrives and the principal greets him politely, but the boy asks him to sit down. He then gives him a medicinal wine as a gift, and the principal praises him for respecting his elders. The young man then asks for help in learning martial arts, and the principal calls him impatient. With glowing eyes, he begs for a chance and says he really wants to improve his skills. The principal agrees to help, and the two laugh together with the exchange of compliments and pleasantries. The next day at noon, our protagonist receives an important call from the principal. Getting out of the shower, he thanks him and asks which martial arts family he managed to contact. With wide eyes, he is shocked to learn that the Liu family is willing to teach him. On the outskirts of the city, a couple on a motorcycle speeds down the highway. The girl praises the boy's speed, but he says he has something even more incredible to show. Suddenly, our hero appears and scolds them for getting distracted at high speed. Annoyed, the biker curses at him and challenges him to a race with his shared bike. Unfazed, our hero grabs the handlebars and prepares to show his true power. The biker speeds up and says he's not worthy of competing with his super motorcycle. With a serious look, our protagonist just watches the biker pull away on the road. Suddenly, the couple is startled to see a blue light approaching at high speed behind them. With his blue energy, he overtakes the motorcycle with his bike and says goodbye to brother G. A huge wave of blue energy propels him forward at an impressive speed. Shocked, the couple wonders if shared bikes are as fast as an airplane. Arriving at his destination, he is impressed by the magnificence of the Liu family mansion. He is impressed by the wealth of the place, as a martial arts family lives there. Using his magnetic field, he detects several powerful beings inside the mansion and becomes alert. Suddenly, Lu Qingju appears in front of him to welcome him. With a smile, she greets him, and our hero watches her slowly approach. He teases her, asking if she's happy to see him, and the girl tells him to come in and meet her mother. Walking through the gardens, he observes the staff caring for the plants with giant scissors. They then enter the mansion through a huge, luxurious door with gold and red details. Lu Qingju announces the boy's arrival to her mother, who is waiting for him on the upper floor of the house. We then see a woman in elegant high heels coming down the mansion's stairs. With an imposing look, the head of the Liu family welcomes him and introduces herself as Qunlan. With a blushing face and a bleeding nose, our hero understands the words of Prime Minister Cho Ca. The scene then shifts to the past, right after the end of the exams at the Liu family mansion. Qinlan talks to her daughter about her fight against our protagonist. With a sad look, Lu Qingju begins to speak, but her mother interrupts her before she can continue. The woman comforts her and tells her not to be upset about what happened in the tournament. Qinlan praises her performance, says that Yahe's strength is so great that he would still be an underdog. The girl then remains silent and just watches her mother as she continues to speak. The family head says that her younger brother cannot inherit the family due to his limited talent. She holds her daughter's face and says that she is beautiful, but also that she is a girl and needs help. Qinlan explains that the family is weakened, and that if someone asks for her hand in marriage, they cannot refuse. With a blushing face, Lu Qingju is shocked to hear that her mother wants her to marry our hero. Her mother praises him for his talent and tells her daughter to get along with him for now. Back in the present, our protagonist greets her and gives her a small gift. Qinlan asks about his desire to learn martial arts, and the boy confirms the information. With wide eyes, our hero is surprised at how easily she agreed. The woman explains that he will have one day to learn the martial arts in the family's pavilion. With a piercing gaze, Qinlan warns him that whether he can learn the three arts depends on his ability. He then bows and thanks the Liu family for the opportunity he is receiving. Qinlan understands that he is making a promise to the family and not just to her. She praises him for his intelligence, and he wonders why she is looking at him so strangely. Lu Qingju then guides him through a stone corridor towards the family's martial arts pavilion. He teases her, asking why she is avoiding looking at him, and the girl nervously denies it. With a sly smile, he gets closer to her, and Lu Qingju's face turns red with embarrassment. She shouts for him to get away, and the boy laughs at the young classmate's overreaction. They then arrive in front of a huge stone door that blocks the entrance to the pavilion. Lu Qingju explains that the door is made of a special stone, and the boy asks if he can punch it. The girl agrees and thinks his brain is strange for wanting to test his strength on the door. Without a second thought, our hero concentrates his energy and prepares for the attack. Lu Qingju is startled to see the glowing punch technique and remembers her fight in the tournament. A blue energy explosion occurs, but the door doesn't move an inch with the impact. He then punches the wall with all his might in a devastating blow full of energy. To his surprise, the stone door doesn't budge, and he realizes it is very resistant. Liu Qingju laughs at his failure, and he gets annoyed upon realizing that 90% of his force was absorbed. Inside the pavilion, she explains that the martial arts are divided into several categories. Liu Qingju takes him to the deepest room, where the Xuanhuang arts are kept safely. The young woman warns him that he won't be able to learn everything in one day, and that her mother's permission is not a good thing. With a smile on his face, he ignores her and says that if he's going to learn, it will be the strongest of all. Liu Qingju then types the password on a panel and explains that the door is made of a rare and secure stone. The family has been collecting these stones since her great-grandfather's generation to build the secret room. Inside the room, we see 3 golden chests with the family's most powerful martial arts. In one of the chests, we see a plaque with the name of one of the martial arts, the devil in the flesh. Liu Qingju explains that the Xuanhuang arts are alive and is not the artist who chooses them. With a scary smile, he says that the art the devil in the flesh is perfect for him. The chest then opens, releasing a red light, and he prepares to see what's inside. Looking up, our hero is surprised as the martial art is not a book. To his astonishment, the art is a grotesque and frightening statue of a giant monster. Suddenly, he is transported to another place and finds himself before an ancient statue. Looking up, he wonders if this is the world of the statue's martial rhyme. Liu Qingju explains that the martial rhyme can be carried by statues, paintings, or utensils. She says that only martial masters can condense the rhyme and pass it on to objects. The young man asks how he is supposed to learn from the object, but the girl says the rest is up to him. With a serious look, Liu Qingju tells him to feel the martial rhyme and that if it's fate, he will succeed. With a confused face, our hero doesn't understand anything she just said. Without worrying, he decides to take a nap and says that if it's fate, everything will work out. From an observation room, Liu Qingju watches him, annoyed, and thinks he is very lazy. In the spiritual world, he realizes he has no power, and the system informs him that it will protect him. A muscular man says that only a real man can inherit his martial arts. With a challenging look, he tells him to prove he is a man of iron to inherit his power. Shocked, our hero realizes that man is exactly like the statue he saw. The spirit explains that he must protect the temple from ghosts during a storm. A raindrop falls from the roof, and the storm begins to form in the dark sky. A raindrop falls on his face, and he notices the weather is changing. The statue then announces that the great test for him will finally begin. To defend himself, a sword appears in his hand, and he holds it firmly. Suddenly, a horde of red ghosts appears in the rain and surrounds him from all sides. With a determined look, our hero prepares to fight against all the creatures. Wielding his sword, he prepares to face the wave of advancing monsters. With his glowing sword, he attacks one of the ghosts with a powerful and accurate blow. The strike from his sword releases a yellow energy that cuts the monster in half with ease. He realizes that the test wouldn't make him fight unarmed, and that there must be hidden items. Leaping over the horde of monsters, he continues his fight to protect the temple. With an aerial strike, he attacks the creatures with his brightly glowing sword. Watching the fight, the spirit says the boy is a fool and that martial artists are getting worse. As he fights, the spirit complains that he always has to collect the bodies of those who fail. A giant shadow monster appears, and he faces it with his sword in hand, ready to fight. The boy dodges the attack and cuts the creature with a quick and precise strike from his sword. Shocked, the spirit realizes that the ghosts can't even get close to the boy. He then understands that in the spiritual world, the system protects him and makes him immune to attacks. With a sly smile, he realizes this means he has an invincible body there. With his newfound confidence, he releases a powerful beam of light that destroys several monsters. The spirit is shocked and wonders how the young man is not affected by the effects of the martial rhyme. With a wet face, he says there's no other reason, as he just studies and practices a lot. The spirit then says that since he has defeated the ghosts, he will pass on his inheritance. Our hero then stands still and silent in the middle of the heavy falling rain. Suddenly, the temple statue shatters and reveals a well with a bright red light. He approaches the well, and the spirit explains that it contains the essence he condensed. Without hesitation, the boy jumps into the well to refine the technique the devil in the flesh. Impressed, the spirit comments that it's the first time he's seen a young man with so much personality. He says that in his prime, he was a hero who went through an S-level secret realm. The spirit explains that his energy and blood began to decline with age. To avoid making more mistakes, he decided to end his own life to restrain himself. He warns that if the boy masters the evil spirits, he will surpass himself on the path of martial arts. Back in the observation room, Qunlan and her daughter watch our hero intently. Suddenly, Liu Qingju is shocked by what she is seeing and her eyes widen in surprise. Our hero starts having convulsions and bleeding while the girl cries out for her mother. The two then watch the scene on the observation room screen, unable to do anything. Liu Qingju explains that he was smiling, but now he is bleeding and writhing in pain. Qunlan explains that her grandfather was rejected by the art and suffered severe internal injuries. With a serious look, she says that whoever wants to wear the crown must bear its weight. Qunlan is then shocked to see something unexpected and wonders what happened to the boy. Suddenly, our protagonist sits up and celebrates with his arms in the air. Liu Qingju comments to her mother that the boy's trial was not as thrilling as she described. He thanks the spirit, who calls him talented, and gives him an important mission. With a sly smile, the young man thinks that he actually just cheated during the test. Covered in a red aura, he realizes his combat power has now doubled in strength. The two women then rush into the room and ask if he managed to learn the art. Making a funny salute, our hero confirms that he managed to learn the technique. Qinlan is shocked as he learned it in an hour, while her daughter would take a week. Lu Qingchu thinks that people call her a genius, but the real genius is right in front of her. With a mocking smile, Yi says he will give a demonstration since they don't believe him. Releasing his energy, he explains that the evil spirit now makes his arts more lethal. Yi then punches the air and releases a powerful energy wave full of blue and red lightning. Shocked by the impact, Lu Qingju wonders if the howl she heard was from the evil spirit. Qinlan watches him with a seductive gaze and seems very impressed with the boy's power. Yi then jokes and asks her to be more reserved, as he doesn't want to be the prime minister. Lu Qingju asks if he wants to learn the other two arts, since he still has the whole day. Qinlan scolds her for offering all the family's assets to him, even if she wants him as a son-in-law. Our hero refuses the offer and says he is tired and needs to take care of things at home. Qinlan then offers him a car from the garage so he can leave more comfortably. The boy remembers the cool motorcycle he saw on the way and has a brilliant idea. Yi then asks if she has a motorcycle, and the woman offers him the best one from her son's collection. A young man arrives at the mansion saying he wants to see the son-in-law his mother invited for his talented sister. With an annoyed look, he complains about the guy on the shared bike who scared his new girlfriend. Suddenly, our protagonist speeds past him on a super stylish motorcycle. Shocked, the boy realizes that was the kid on the bike and that he is now on his motorcycle. Back home, the motorcycle is now parked in front of our hero's residence. At his table, he prepares to have dinner and complains that the monster core he ate before was tasteless. With his tongue out, he decides that this time he will add some sauce to improve the meal's flavor. Using his chopsticks, he then picks up one of the blue crystals and prepares to eat it. A system screen shows that his attributes have improved, and he thinks his giant form is still small. With his finger raised, he decides he will put all his points into the giant model. Next, he picks up the golden core of the demon vine to consume it and gets stronger. Covered in a blue energy aura, he screams as he absorbs the power of the new core. The system then informs him that a special mutation has occurred and asks if he wants to stop it. With his eye glowing intensely, he wonders what this mutation could be. He understands that the mutation could be good or bad, and that it would be a negative evolution if it went wrong. Without a second thought, the young man decides to take a chance and presses the button to allow the mutation. The system congratulates him for unlocking an S-ranked nuclear model amidst a cosmic explosion. With his mouth open, he screams in surprise as the mutation begins to happen in his body. A giant cosmic creature appears, and the system explains the chance of his model changing. The screen then reveals the name of his new and powerful form, which is Stellar Universe Demora. He gets excited about the powerful name but realizes he needs to level up the model to 100%, so he decides to hurry. Suddenly, an explosion outside catches his attention and illuminates the sky with a bright light. With a serious look, he wonders if that is a terrorist attack or something of the sort. Outside, the police surround the area and shout orders to close all park exits. Back in his room, he hears a noise at the door and becomes alert to the situation. He thinks it can't be a friend or a delivery and wonders who is outside. A woman in futuristic armor, Yao Yume, appears at his window and calls him little brother. Yao Yume says she was just going to hide something and erase his memory, but now she'll have to make him suffer a little. Unfazed, he says he has a lot of money and can just buy another house if he wants. Striking an iconic pose, he points at her and warns that the woman is already done for. Outside, a man fights against the police and fires an energy beam from his hands. The police see an opening in his defense and order the team to capture him once and for all. The man shouts for Yao Yume to take the golden gene and run while he distracts the enemies. Laughing, he activates a forbidden blood-burning technique to sacrifice himself for his partner. Even after being hit, he realizes there are still more enemies, and the situation becomes complicated. Yao Yume appears with her suit now black, and the man wonders why she came back. With a serious look, she warns that she has hidden the item and that they need to retreat immediately. The two then manage to escape and leave the police behind amidst the confusion. They flee through a manhole and disappear into the sewer to avoid being caught by the police. The police are left behind and continue searching for the two fugitives in a dark alley. In the alley, the fugitives celebrate having shaken off the police, and Yao Yume notices her armor has repaired itself. Suddenly, our protagonist appears and asks why the beautiful lady broke into his house. With a wicked smile, he says she picked the wrong neighbor, and that he's going to have some fun. The man is shocked by the sudden appearance and wonders how the boy found them there. Yi then explains that he can feel the nuclear radiation in her body and tells them to stop talking. He takes the chance to test his new technique and attacks the man with his demonic power. The fugitive tries to defend himself with his arms but realizes the situation is not good for him. Our hero's attack releases a huge explosion of red and demonic energy. The man is hit squarely by the blow and spits blood from the force of the overwhelming impact. Without wasting time, our protagonist continues his attack with a powerful and accurate punch. With his fist covered in a red aura, he delivers a devastating blow to his opponent. Yao Yume is shocked by his skills and asks from which master he learned to fight. He then makes up that he is a disciple of Emperor Guangla, and she thinks the city has hidden masters. Lying on the ground, the man warns him not to get too confident with his easy victory. He then transforms into a monster and says that a 6th-level martial artist is not easy to deal with. With a single step, he stumps on the ground forcefully and creates a small crater with the impact. In his new form, the man charges at high speed towards our protagonist. With an excited smile, our hero says that now things have gotten more interesting. Suddenly, Yahyume appears behind him and says her suit has stealth abilities and that she is the real threat. But Yi stops her and fires an energy beam that hits her squarely and throws her far away. That beam hits the ceiling and a giant bluish explosion happens in the alley. Angrily, the monster curses Yahyume for messing up the surprise ambush. Covered in a blue aura, he says that now he'll have to fight the guy alone. With his eyes glowing, Yi gets excited and says that now the fight is really going to start. The two of them trade a powerful punch, and a blast of blue energy explodes between them. Shocked, Yi wonders how the monster defense got so strong out of nowhere. The monster boasts that its demon rhinoceros form can even take on a battle tank. Our protagonist struggles to block the monster's blade attack with his arm. With a blue aura, the creature charges and shouts that it's going to finish our protagonist. The fight between the two of them completely demolishes the abandoned building nearby. In the middle of the smoke, the monster brags about its strength and says the boy is no match for it. Suddenly, it notices that our hero has vanished and wonders where he went. With wide eyes, it becomes alert and searches the area for its opponent. Out of nowhere, a giant creature appears behind it, and the monster is shocked by the sight. With its mouth wide open, it wonders if that demonic beast is the boy transformed. Suddenly, several blue energy heads appear and rush towards the monster. The enemy is thrown far away by the force of the powerful, bluish explosion. With no chance to react, it flies through the air from the impact of the devastating attack. Yehi's giant form then smashes it into the ground with a final, powerful blow. A giant energy fist gets ready to end the fight once and for all. A blue energy skull is fired and hits the ground in an overwhelming explosion that clears everything. A system screen shows his new stats and the power boost in his giant form. Yahyume then watches in shock as the giant creature the boy became stands right in front of her. Desperate, she regrets having provoked such a powerful creature. Yahyume realizes she can't escape and that her only option is to fight to the end. On top of a building, she faces the giant form, preparing for the final battle. In an acrobatic move, Yahyume leaps into the air and charges at high speed toward the monster. Her attack is a molecular line from her armor, strong enough to cut even metal. She warns that even as a giant, he still has the weaknesses of a normal human. Using her agility, she prepares to strike the creature's weak spot. With her energy threads, Yahyume tries to slice the monster's neck once and for all. Tired from the fight, the woman wonders if she has finally managed to take down the monster. A massive bluish energy blast is fired from the giant creature's mouth. Shocked by the counterattack, she calls our protagonist a monster, terrified. The last image in Yahyume's memory is a blue beam destroying everything in its path. Back to normal, our hero walks through the cavern with smoke all around him. He approaches the man lying on the ground, completely covered in injuries. With a cold look, our protagonist warns that now it's his turn to pay the price. With a bleeding and terrified face, the man calls him a monster in disbelief. With a cold look, Yi warns that it's only fair that those who take lives should be prepared to lose their own. In the alley, we see the aftermath of the fight as silence spreads through the destroyed area. Lying on the ground, the guy says he's taking him down with him and reveals that Yahyume hid a so-called golden gene in his room. Laughing hysterically, the man curses him, saying he'll be hunted and that he'll be waiting for him in the underworld. Out of patience, our hero takes him down with a punch and says the enemy talks too much. With a serious look, he realizes the police are coming and that he needs to deal with the body. Looking at the destroyed building, he thinks that maybe he overdid it a little this time. The scene changes and shows our protagonist's apartment building at night. Back in his room, he asks Auntie Chun how the police questioning went. She warns him to keep a low profile, and he replies that he's the best-behaved person in the world. Yi is relieved that he warned her, because the police would never forgive him for his nuclear blast. Holding a strange device, he wonders if this is the golden gene the two were talking about. He recognizes the symbol on the object and remembers the file he got from the university. He figures out that the two of them stole the item and were being hunted by the Laser Bird Company. He remembers the guy's words and realizes the whole mess was dumped on him. Looking at the hole in the wall, he decides to go to a hotel to think about what to do. The scene changes to the inner region of Swan Lake, a B-class secret realm. On top of a defeated monster, a huntress asks about the profits from the hunt. Suddenly, one of the team members warns the captain that something is going very wrong. In the distance, a red wave appears and terrifying roars echo throughout the area. Right after, a horde of terrifying monsters charges toward the group of hunters. A horde of giant monsters charges forward under a completely red sky in a scene of chaos. Leading the charge, a huge monster attacks with its intensely glowing red eyes. Atop a mountain of skulls, a fifth-level blood-eyed sin wolf observes everything. Terrified, the hunters shout to alert the military, because the city won't be able to handle the invasion. Suddenly, a giant furry and furious monster appears in the middle of the horde of creatures. The creature's red eye glares at the hunters, showing all its fury and power. Opening its mouth, it fires a massive wave of purple energy to attack the warriors. With the attack, several meteors fall from the sky, and the group of hunters tries to escape the destruction. One of the hunters then uses his radio and desperately calls the city for backup. But the radio falls to the ground next to his hand, and the communication is suddenly cut off. The giant monster then rises, covered in an aura of lightning and an overwhelming power. With a scary smile, the creature orders the monster horde to advance with everything they've got. We then see the entire horde of beasts running toward a portal that leads to the city. In a nearby city, people look up at the sky and notice a monster invasion alert. They panic when they learn the horde will arrive in 20 minutes and that the military has been dispatched. We then see several soldiers in special armor preparing to defend the city. An announcement then calls all martial artists to help in the city's defense. The trains are reserved for children and students, as they are the future of the city. In the mayor's office, a man reports that there are no reinforcements, as all cities are on high alert. With a serious look, the man understands that no one is coming to help them and that they are on their own. The mayor desperately asks if Huadu can't send at least one grandmaster to help. Devastated, he slams the table as the neighboring city is also facing an S-class invasion. With a determined look, he decides there is no time to lose and that they must fight alone. The scene then shifts to a dojo where Chuzhou is training in martial arts. In the courtyard, the two young men exchange blows in a very intense training session. Our protagonist lands a powerful punch on his friend's face during the fight, but Chuzhou manages to take the hit and stays on his feet firm. With a smile, our hero praises him for enduring the punch he just threw. They talk and Chuzhou is shocked by the boy's strength, who says he has gotten much stronger. Suddenly, our protagonist senses the monster invasion alert and gets serious. Chuzhou then shows him the evacuation alert and asks if he's thinking of running. With a sad smile, the blue-haired young man says that with his talent, he should leave. But our hero smiles slyly and says he only has one thing to say. The scene then shifts to the Liu family mansion with a reddish sky in the background. Liu Qingzhu tells her mother she wants to fight, but the woman warns that her chances are minimal. The family head forbids her from fighting and says her life belongs to the Liu family. With her head bowed, the girl remains silent and looks very sad about the decision. But she stands up and says that a family that doesn't fight monsters doesn't deserve to live. Shortly after, someone breaks down the room's door with a powerful and surprising kick. Sitting in her chair, the family head says they are leaving the city and asks about Yi. With a serious look, she decides to send a message to the boy and let him decide what to do. The scene changes to the Swan Lake secret realm with a dark and mysterious landscape. We see several veteran warriors gathered and ready to fight for the city one more time. Without hesitation, the warriors charge onto the battlefield together with their weapons drawn. At the realm's entrance, we see the city's final line of defense with jets and giant cannons. The mayor explains that the Vanguard's mission is to gather intel on the strongest monsters. Suddenly, one of the Vanguard soldiers is hit by a sudden and unexpected attack. With his body injured, the warrior screams in pain as blood streams from his wounds. His comrades yell for a medic, but he falls to the ground with no strength to get up. A medic runs to help him while the mayor watches the tragic scene in despair. With his blood-soaked hand, the soldier hands over a flash drive with the battle data. Shocked, the mayor desperately asks where the other members of the Vanguard team are. The soldier then reveals with his last breath that all his comrades fell in battle. Crying, he explains that the monster horde destroyed everything and nothing is left. He then warns them to be careful of the black ape, because it set a trap for everyone. The scene then changes, and we see a giant meteor being pulled from a portal in the sky. The meteor strikes a building dead on and causes a massive explosion in the city. Right after, several other meteors begin to fall from the sky towards some vehicles. The mayor realizes the target of the attacks are the landmines located under the tower. A series of explosions occurs as the monster is trying to destroy the city's defenses. Furious, the mayor orders them to fire with everything they have, because it's an attack from the secret realm. With his arms wide open, he faces the attacks coming from the portal with a determined gaze. He wonders since when do monsters use human tactics to weaken defenses. With a furious look, he curses the beasts and swears he will put an end to all of them. Suddenly, a second wave of stone projectiles emerges from the portal with even more force. The tanks fire at the meteors, but the sheer number is too much to contain. A soldier stares at the shadow of a bizarre creature appearing in the smoke of the battle. The creature then reveals itself, and the soldier shouts that they are under attack from a new monster. With its sharp teeth, the beast bites the soldier's weapon and easily disarms him. Several winged monsters attack the soldiers, who try to defend themselves with their weapons. The mayor yells to intercept the spikes and tries to stop them with his bare hands. A giant creature approaches the portal while several flying monsters exit from it. With a wicked smile, the giant ape says that humanity won't hold out for much longer. Shortly after, a giant white ape appears and orders its soldiers to destroy everything. The white monster charges at high speed toward the city defenses, ready to attack. With its brute strength, the creature smashes the soldiers and tanks with its giant fists. On top of a building, our hero observes the city and wonders what will happen after today. With a serious look, he says he won't let the monsters destroy the life he fought so hard to build. Then, with an excited smile and glowing eyes, he transforms to enter the battle. The scene then changes and shows the city in flames with smoke rising from all sides. A young man with a blue aura kicks a monster while his classmate praises him for already taking down 5 beasts. Suddenly, Tai Shelling appears on top of a monster and teases him for showing off. Right after, Chuzhou lands on the ground with a powerful and surprising impact. Holding a core, he's shocked to have found his classmates there and asks why they didn't flee. With a serious look, the young man says his parents are fighting, and that is their children, they couldn't run. The other boy then shouts for him to be careful, as something dangerous is approaching from behind. A huge battle tank is hurled towards Chuzhou with great force. The city is in chaos, with monsters everywhere and destroyed military vehicles on the ground. Looking up, the group wonders who threw a battle tank right into the middle of them. Without hesitation, Chujo draws his sword, which glows with an intense bluish energy. With a swift movement, he cuts the tank in half with a powerful strike from his sword. The bluish energy blade destroys the flaming tank in a single, precise attack. With a shocked expression, Tai Shaoling realizes who threw the vehicle at them. A giant white ape appears, and they relax upon seeing it's not a Lord-class beast. Without warning, the monster attacks the group with a devastating punch that will crush them all. Shocked, Chujo despairs when he realizes the creature is an elite monster. Suddenly, a massive blue energy beam hits the white ape head on and sends it flying back. The monster is launched far away, and a small bluish figure floats in the air before it. Immediately after, a giant shadowy hand appears to crush the white ape in one go. In his monster form, our hero appears on top of the defeated beast with an energy sword. With a wicked smile, our hero says it's time to take care of that monster's teeth. The giant creature then opens its enormous mouth and stares at him with a confused and frightened look. Our protagonist then enters the monster's mouth without showing a single shred of fear. Inside, he complains about the stench and asks how many people the beast has eaten to smell so bad. He then prepares an energy sphere and says he's going to give the creature a mouthwash. Shortly after, a blue energy beam is fired from inside the monster's mouth at full force. The group of students is shocked and thinks the beasts are fighting, but Chujo recognizes him. With a confident look, he says that with Yi here, the city might finally survive this. Our hero then tells his friend that he's going to reinforce the other battlefronts. He then flies into the sky in a trail of blue energy to help somewhere else in the city. Floating above the burning city, he observes the chaos and destruction everywhere. Using his magnetic field, he looks for where the beasts are most concentrated and finds them. Elsewhere, soldiers are firing at a giant elephant monster with spiked tusks. One of the soldiers shouts that the weapons are useless and tells everyone to use their swords in the fight. The warriors then charge forward with their blades to fight the giant and bizarre creature. They try to fight, but the beast uses its spikes to defeat several soldiers at once. The creature then defeats all the soldiers, impaling them on its sharp spikes. A giant foot then prepares to crush the soldiers who are left on the battlefield. Desperate, the soldiers shout that they can't hold the defensive line by themselves anymore. Even so, one of the soldiers attacks the creature with his sword in a final act of courage. A soldier shouts that they need to fight to buy time for the civilians to escape the city. Suddenly, red auras appear, and the soldiers wonder if those are martial artists. The demonic auras then attack the giant elephant monster with all their might. Right after, a blue energy sword strikes the creature's head with a precise blow. The monster then falls defeated to the ground, and a crater forms from the impact of its body. With no time to rest, a three-headed demonic hound appears and stares down the soldiers. In his monster form, our hero prepares to use a powerful thunder attack. He then fires a blue energy beam that causes a devastating explosion on the ground. On another battlefront, the city continues to burn from the monster invasion. A warrior notices that the beast reinforcements are moving toward a single location. Another warrior then realizes that Yi has joined the battle, and the beasts are surrounding him. He decides they need to help him, as the boy is the entire city's last hope. The man and his companion advance and shout for everyone to protect the high scorer. A monster is then hit in the mouth by a blue energy beam fired by our hero. We then see a battlefield covered by the bodies of the defeated beasts. A blue energy beam shoots up to the sky amidst the annihilated monsters. One of the warriors yells that a Lord-class beast has targeted Yi and that they will protect him. Someone complains that the veterans let a kid get hurt on the front line of the battle. A beast with horns and spikes then charges at high speed toward the warriors. Suddenly, the creature is hit by an orange energy attack that sends it flying. The scene then shifts to an area of the city with a giant portal and a building with magical seals. Floating in the sky, the mayor says they need to defeat the sovereign to end the invasion. Elsewhere, a female warrior attacks a monster with a series of powerful energy strikes. The beast then reveals itself as a demonic wolf and charges to attack the young woman with fury. Back to the mayor, he concentrates a large amount of energy in his hands to attack. He then fires a golden energy beam that hits the arm of a giant monster. With his eyes glowing, the mayor is shocked to see his attack wasn't that effective. Suddenly, a colossal creature with scales and green eyes emerges from the darkness of the portal. The beast is a giant serpent that glares at the mayor and the city with a menacing look. The mayor identifies it as a mountain-crushing python, a Lord-class beast. He realizes the creature is the Blood Eyes Mount and that the ape must be on edge. Without hesitation, the mayor lands on top of the building, preparing for the fight to come. He then jumps and slaps his hand on the building's seal, activating a powerful trap. The attack is called the Mountain-Crushing Dominator Hammer, and it releases a shockwave. With its multiple green eyes, the giant serpent faces the attack without showing any fear. A huge golden energy sphere forms over the head of the powerful giant creature. Already on top of the serpent, he taunts it, saying he knew it would use an earth-based attack. The creature's eyes glow intensely as it stares at the mayor with great hatred. He shouts that the beast fell for the bait and uses a serpent explosion martial technique. The explosion then transforms into a powerful seismic blow from the outer peak. The attack hits the creature head-on, and it screams in pain from the devastating impact. Next, the building seals begin to break into 1,000 pieces in the air. The shards fly everywhere, demonstrating the strength of the mayor's blow. Immediately after, several stone spikes emerge from the ground with a yellowish energy. The spikes continue to sprout, destroying everything around in the ruined city. The mayor then faces the serpent amidst the destruction he himself caused in the city. Relieved, he thinks it's a good thing he had intel on the mountain, crushing Python. He then warns that the beast has only shown its head and is now asking to be defeated. With an aura of fire he transforms and several arms suddenly sprout from his body. The energy arms then wrap around the giant serpent's body to immobilize it. The creature faces the attack with its glowing great eyes and seems to be preparing. Suddenly he is caught by surprise as the serpent attacks him with its stone spikes. The creature then reveals its body covered in sharp spikes to defend against the attack. He is impressed and says the beast can even create stone spikes on its body. Suddenly, one of the spikes breaks and reveals a hidden monster inside. With a shocked expression, the mayor realizes it was all a big ambush. With no time to react, he is hit head-on by a surprise attack from the giant ape. With a wicked look, the black ape questions what he is doing with its mouth. He then understands that the blood-eyed black ape was hidden inside the stone spike. The monster then threatens to crush his skull to show how insignificant humans are. The giant ape lands with a devastating impact, causing a massive explosion on the ground. The city is now in ruins, with enormous stone spikes jutting out from the ground everywhere. The monster then brags that the city has no strong warriors left and he can take everyone out. Floating in the air, the mayor appears to be heavily injured from the attack he just suffered. But with a determined look, he doesn't seem ready to give up the fight so easily. He then creates several golden energy whips and prepares to counter-attack the monster. The mayor then unleashes his storm of wind blades in the direction of the giant ape. With a disdainful look, the monster says the human's resistance is futile and only delays the inevitable. The monster explains that the battle has turned into a game for him to drown humanity in fear and despair. Suddenly, a giant mouth made of golden blades charges forward to devour the ape. The creature is hit head-on by the blade attack and seems to be feeling the impact of the blow. But with an annoyed look, it complains that the attack was fast but still too weak for it. Right after, the mayor attacks with a wave of earth, but the monster dodges with speed. The creature dodges with ease and says the attack was powerful but too slow to hit it. Without wasting time, the ape charges forward, leaving a trail of purple energy in the air with its movement. The monster appears above the mayor and orders him to kneel, as it doesn't tolerate being looked in the eyes. The mayor faces the impending attack with a tense and worried expression. The creature then fires a powerful purple energy beam from its mouth to end the fight. Suddenly, the monster's eyes widen in surprise as if something unexpected had happened. The mayor protects himself inside a sphere of stone and manages to block the monster's powerful attack. With a determined look, the mayor faces the monster without showing any fear. Annoyed by the lack of fear, the monster asks why he isn't terrified. The mayor curses him and says he miscalculated because he's just an arrogant beast. He then uses his forbidden blood technique and launches a golden energy attack. The monster screams that it was lured into a trap, and the seal pins it to the ground. A huge energy vortex forms and starts to suck everything into its center. The ape scoffs at the plan and asks if the mayor thinks he can bury it in the ground. It screams that it won't be sealed forever and that it will destroy every human there. With an injured face, the mayor says this is no ordinary contingency plan. Ripping his shirt, he reveals a mark and says that it is an anthem for humanity. With a swift movement, he prepares for his last and most powerful act of courage. Shocked by the scene, the giant ape asks what the mayor is doing now. He reveals that he buried a nuclear device and that the trigger is linked to his heart. The monster yells that he's bluffing and that no one would gamble their life on something like that. With a bloodied face, he says he never planned on leaving that battle alive. In a flashback, we see him offering his life for the city and his people. Closing his eyes, he thinks that he has finally done enough for the city. Suddenly, the sound of his heart stopping echoes across the silent battlefield. Engulfed by an intense light, his body becomes the center of a massive explosion. A huge explosion occurs in the city, illuminating the entire sky with a red light. The mushroom cloud from the nuclear explosion rises in the sky in a scene of total, overwhelming destruction. On a cell phone, a message describes the explosion as a tombstone rising from the earth. With tears in his eyes, a young soldier cries as he witnesses the scene of the mayor's sacrifice. All the soldiers then pay one last emotional tribute to the hero who saved the city. The warriors who managed to evacuate also watch the explosion with great sadness and sorrow. The narration describes the scene as a funeral befitting a legend for his great sacrifice. The explosion then dissipates, revealing the smoldering crater that formed at the battle site. In the midst of the fire, we see the skeleton of the giant ape caught in the nuclear blast. Suddenly, a bright energy core appears, floating in the air among the creature's bones. The core then floats above the monster's skeleton and begins to release a strange energy. A skeletal hand, covered in a purple aura, starts to regenerate from nothing in the crater. The ape's skeleton then completely reconstructs itself in a frightening and bizarre scene. A giant red eye opens on the creature's chest, showing that it is still alive. The monster regenerates and can't believe it was almost taken down by a mere human. Filled with hatred, it vows to finish off everyone in the city in the most brutal way possible. It then decides to retreat to the domain of sin to recover and return stronger. Suddenly, a mysterious voice questions it, asking where it thinks it's going. In his monster form, our hero appears and the ape recognizes him instantly. With his eyes glowing, he says that he found it, but it's a shame he arrived a little too late. Without wasting time, he attacks with his powerful, radiant energy explosion fist. The energy fist hits the monster head on and throws it back with incredible force. With his eyes glowing with fury, our hero faces the monster without any fear. The monster calls him a foolish genius and says this is the perfect chance to finish him. With a smile, he says his mini bomb wouldn't have caught him if he ran, but since he wants to be taken down. With its mouth covered in blue energy, the monster roars furiously at our protagonist. In his monster form, he releases an enormous amount of lightning and bluish energy. A mysterious figure then holds a sphere of energy and prepares for the attack. The energy sphere then expands and causes a huge bluish explosion in the city. The other warriors are shocked by the explosion and wonder if it was another one of the mayor's traps. Amidst the smoke, the monster emerges with its body injured and weakened by the attack. Shocked by the boy's power, the creature calls him a monster, unable to believe what it's seeing. He then reveals his armored titan form and faces the ape with an intimidating gaze. The creature says he is more beast-like than it is, and that not even king-rank beasts have an aura like that. With a look of contempt, he says he's not like the bald chimpanzees of that world. He then attacks with his giant claw and prepares to smash the creature into the ground. The claw strike hits the ground and creates a massive shockwave of bluish energy. From the impact of the attack, the monster is thrown far away and flies uncontrollably through the air. He says there's no use intimidating a little monkey and prepares his sea-flooding strike. With a purple aura, the monster screams not to underestimate a sovereign and prepares a counter-attack. The creature then fires a purple energy blast to try to defend itself from the attack. The two attacks collide and a bluish energy explosion illuminates the entire sky. With his arm injured, he says the monster is strong, but it still looks like a skinny monkey. He complains that his physique in Titan mode has 30 points, and even so, the monster injured him. Lying on the ground, the ape is shocked to see that the young man has already healed from the wound. Terrified, he thinks he can't possibly defeat a genius as powerful as that boy. With no other choice, the monster decides to flee and runs desperately away from the battle. But suddenly, a sphere of blue energy hits it and launches it into the air with no chance of escape. Our hero says the monster doesn't deserve to tarnish the sacrifice of Mayor Huang Chung. He then fires a powerful radiant pulse strike that hits the monster head-on. The creature is disintegrated by the attack and curses the genius human with its last words. In his monster form, he says the ape buried itself to play dead. Using his power, he senses that the monster is afraid and that this is his chance to finish it. With sad eyes, he thinks that if he had found the monster sooner, the mayor wouldn't have had to sacrifice himself. Using his claws, he feels the monster's life traces, even though it tries to hide. Without hesitation, he charges forward and shouts that he has found the ape and that this is its end. He then fires a blue energy beam from his mouth to attack the hidden monster. The attack hits the ground squarely and creates a massive crater on the battlefield. The monster complains because it was near the entrance to the domain of sin and blames the mayor. With its body being destroyed by the attack, it can't escape the energy explosion. The blue energy beam then completely obliterates the monster, leaving not a single trace behind. In his monster form, he warns that this is the price for dishonoring the mayor's sacrifice. The monster then calls him a vile worm and screams at him not to push his luck in the battle. It decides to burn its core's energy to drag the boy to the underworld along with it. With its arm covered in a purple aura, it prepares for a final desperate attack. Screaming in fury, it launches its last attack in our protagonist's direction. Our hero then takes the full force of the attack and is covered by the smoke from the explosion. The collision of the two powers causes a massive explosion of purple and bluish energy. The energy dissipates and we see debris from the battle flying everywhere. The attack manages to injure our hero and a piece of his armor flies through the air. Even in defeat, the monster managed to wound the boy with its last desperate attack. With a smile, he says that after the monster's desperate attack, things have changed. He then opens his mouth and prepares an energy sphere to finish the fight for good. Suddenly, he feels a headache and realizes it's an unexpected psychic attack. Shocked, he wonders if there's another expert nearby attacking him by surprise. From the ground, several hands begin to emerge and advance toward our protagonist. The hands then grab the monster's body and pull it away from our hero. Suddenly, hands start growing out of his body, and he is shocked by the bizarre scene. The hands then lock his joints, and he realizes he can't move. With a smile, he says that this can't hold him and increases his power to 200%. Without holding back, he unleashes all his power, and his energy reaches 1000%. With his body covered in blue flames, he prepares to unleash all his power. He then tells the monster to taste the bird of 1,000 flames all at once. The hands hold the monster, which complains about being almost at the entrance to its domain. Suddenly, the monster notices something strange and its eyes widen in surprise. A giant hand emerges from a portal and moves to attack the trapped creature. Shocked, the monster screams for them to run because the giant has reached it and is on fire. With chilling music in the background, several hands emerge to attack the monster. Suddenly, a female figure appears and starts to sing a haunting song. Covered in blue flames, our hero wonders if that is also a magical beast. He realizes her power is terrifying and that she is also a Lord-class beast. The scene then shifts to the ruined city with heavy smoke and destruction everywhere. The mysterious figure then covers her victim's eyes with her delicate hands. In the creature's eye, we see an intense yellow energy explosion happening. The victim then screams in pain as it's attacked by the woman's powerful psychic ability. Our hero complains that even though he blocked his hearing, the scream still reached his mind. The woman then reveals herself, and her skirt of smoke spreads across the entire battlefield. She then questions if the boy took down so many people and now just wants to leave. With eyes glowing with rage, he shouts that she's dreaming if she thinks she's getting away. With lightning in his hands, he prepares to attack the woman with all his power. He then summons several energy cannons to attack the woman all at once. The cannons fire energy beams that hit the woman head-on with full force. With a wicked smile, he says a nuclear device is a specialty of his hometown. A giant blue energy skull forms and swallows the woman with its intense light. With her red eyes glowing, the woman screams in pain as she's hit by the attack. A huge blue energy beam rises to the heavens and causes a devastating explosion. The warriors are shocked by the explosion and wonder if the mayor's plan succeeded. The ape's carcass was destroyed by the device, and the flow of beasts into the city was cut off. The martial artists then began to clear the city of the remaining beasts. The siege lasted for a day and a night, but the city was saved at a devastating cost. In the Swan Lake secret realm, we see the crater left behind by the nuclear explosion. Lying on the ground, our protagonist is unconscious after the brutal battle he fought. Suddenly, he opens his eyes and slowly gets up, recovering from the confrontation. He explains that he used up his energy in the blast but recharged with the radiation from the site. The boy thinks the battle was brutal and that he used the terrain advantage to defeat the monster. He realizes that even with his monster model, he still can't fight against a Lord Beast. With a determined look, he vows to reach the peak of martial power in the Xia Nation. He decides he needs to collect plant cores and master cosmic martial arts. In front of the crater, he thinks that being transported to this world is part of his destiny. 1 month later, we see a statue of Mayor Huangqing honoring his great sacrifice. Lying on a park bench, our protagonist relaxes and watches the city go by. He reads on his phone that 18 cities were attacked and 12 have completely fallen. The news says the invasion was unusual and that even S-class secret realm appeared. The nation's strongest martial artist, Fu Hongxing, entered the city and came out injured with 2 survivors. Shocked by the news, he thinks that humanity's survival has become grim and that he can't wait any longer. He then calls Auntie Kun and says he has a favor to ask of her at her mansion. Lying in her armchair, she asks if he wants to learn the family's 2 remaining martial arts. Laughing, he says no one asks for help getting high-quality magical plant cores. Kinlad asks what he can offer in return, since the cores he wants are very rare. With a confident smile, he offers to help her daughter take first place in the exam. The woman warns him he's underestimating the prodigies from other provinces, and that he isn't one of the best. He then reminds her that she trusted him for the Lu family's revival and offers to work for her. She laughs at the offer of him doing chores and serving as a simple employee. With a seductive look, the woman stands up and says she'll help him get the cores this time. The scene then shifts to the city's central hospital, where our hero arrives on his motorcycle. He's surrounded by a crowd of fans who praise his strength and ask for autographs. We then see the sign for room number 6, where 2 of his classmates are admitted. With flowers and fruits, he enters the room and teases his friend, who is completely wrapped in bandages. The friend then greets him, and our hero doesn't recognize him under all the dressings. Shocked, the young man introduces himself as Luo Xuan, his first opponent in the promotion match. With wide eyes, our protagonist is surprised to finally recognize his classmate. Lu Jun says his leg is fine and that he might get regeneration surgery. Our hero praises his courage and calls him admirable for defending the city. Suddenly, his phone starts ringing, and he sees it's a bunch of annoying calls. He then hits the button to block the number, but the calls keep coming. Startled, he's shocked by the number of calls and complains that it never stops. The principal then calls and yells at him to unblock the bigwigs from Huadu University. A man introduces himself and informs him that the university will open 1 month early for him. In the room next door, Chuzhou also gets the news from Huadu University. He says he will follow the arrangements while the other classmate complains about being the only non-genius. With a determined look, our hero says he has one more thing to do before leaving. The scene then shifts to the site of the nuclear blast with a sky covered by dark clouds. Suddenly, some beams start to pierce through the clouds and illuminate the location. In his monster form, he absorbs the light and radiation energy gets stronger. He then sits on the ground and starts to meditate to absorb even more power. A system screen shows that his synchronization with the Cosmic Emperor model has increased. He realizes the place is a cultivation sanctuary and that his sync rate went up by 6 points. After training, he stands up and says he needs to go, as he has no more time to waste. Suddenly, a trail of blue energy appears in the sky, and he notices something unexpected. At the train station, an announcement says the train to the university will depart in 5 minutes. With his suitcase and sword, he waits on the platform, ready for his new journey to the university. Suddenly, he senses that someone has arrived and becomes alert. A sphere of blue energy appears in the sky and descends at high speed toward the station. The impact of the landing creates a shockwave and a trail of blue energy on the platform. Relieved, Chuzhou thinks that he thankfully made it in time to catch the train. The other passengers are startled by the wave of pressure and wonder if it's another beast. With a smile, Chuzhou says that our protagonist has gotten stronger again. Our hero says they are about to leave the city and gets ready for departure. He thinks that this was his first stop and his starting point since he arrived. With a look back, he says goodbye to the city, and the train starts to move along the tracks. With an excited smile, he tells everyone to head to Huadu, and the train speeds up. The train then departs at high speed, leaving the city behind in the blink of an eye. Inside the car, Chuzhou scolds him for his lack of seriousness about the situation. He explains that everyone there are top students and that the train is escorted by strong warriors. With a sly smile, our hero says he used his power and that only 5 of them would survive against him. Suddenly, a level 1 alert sounds, and everyone is startled by the news of an attack. The alert informs them that the train is under attack by unknown enemies and they must evacuate. The students panic and wonder if it's real or just a test for the freshmen. With their arms crossed, the two friends watch the situation calmly and without concern. With an excited smile, our hero stands up and tells them to go see what's happening. The scene then shifts to a top-down view of the train speeding along the tracks. Suddenly, an injured student appears and our hero asks what's going on. The young man explains that enemies have already breached the first 3 cars of the train. All the students gather around the injured student to hear what he has to say. One of the students doubts the story and asks him to show some proof of the danger. A blonde-haired guy accuses him of lying and says he doesn't believe he managed to get out. With an arrogant look, he decides to go to the front of the train to see what's happening. The injured student shouts for them not to go, but the others ignore him and move on. The young man then turns and asks if our protagonist is he because he has a message. Using his power, our hero senses an anomaly in the student and confirms his identity. He explains that a girl named Lu Qingju sent him to find him and warn him not to go. Shocked by the news, our protagonist asks if that's really what she said. The young man explains that she took a heavy blow to protect him and that he needs to survive. Crying, he says he promised her he would ensure our hero would survive everything. Losing patience, our hero hits him and complains that she's still alive for him to be talking like that. With a determined look, he says he's going to the front of the train because he made a promise to her parents. Desperate, the young man tries to stop him, but our hero questions him about his appearance. Chuzhou then draws his sword and prepares to fight, as he can't let our hero go. The two then clash swords, and Chuzhou complains about him being so irrational. With no time for nonsense, our protagonist grabs him by the collar and throws him aside. Lying on the floor, the young man is shocked by our hero's strength and spits blood from the impact. He then calls his friend, and the two run down the train's corridor at high speed. We then see the number of the 3rd car, where the entrance to the spatial domain is located. Arriving at the location, he realizes that must be the entrance to the separate space. Without a second thought, he lifts his suitcase and prepares to test the path ahead. With a powerful throw, he tosses his suitcase directly into the purple portal. He notices there's no sound and that his life field can't detect any energy. With a curious look, he decides to enter, finding the whole situation very interesting. Without hesitation, he and Chuzhou jump into the purple portal together without fear. On the other side, he feels dizzy and wonders who is behind this trap. Looking around, he realizes his friend has disappeared and that they've been separated. With a determined look, he spots a light ahead and decides to get out of there first. He then arrives in a strange city with floating buildings and is shocked by the sight. He realizes his life field is being blocked by the place and becomes alert. With no other choice, he uses the old-fashioned method and throws a grappling hook to climb a building. Landing on top of the building, he prepares to search for his friends and enemies. With an energy sphere, he warns them not to try playing ghost games with him. He then throws the energy sphere and yells for everything to blow up at once. A massive bluish explosion occurs, illuminating the entire strange floating city. From inside a building, the other students are shocked by the explosion and wonder what that was. Elsewhere, Chuzhou leaps between buildings with his sword in hand. Sitting by a window, Lu Qingju watches the smoke from the explosion with a sad and tired look. With an injured face, she wonders why our hero came all this way to save her. On top of the building, he thinks he's attracted not only his classmates but also enemies. The silhouette of a man in a pig mask appears and stares at him with red eyes. The masked man charges forward with his knife and chain, ready to attack our protagonist. With his hand covered in energy, our hero says he's going to rip the mask off that scoundrel. The enemy then draws his blood-stained knife and prepares for the impending combat. With a powerful kick, he attacks the masked man with all his strength at once. The man's mask is hit squarely, and bluish smoke comes from the point of impact. Shocked, he realizes the enemy withstood his nuclear punch and came out completely unharmed. With no time to think, the masked man attacks him with his sharp, blood-stained knife. Our hero then catches the blade with his hand, and blood starts to drip from his fingers. With a smile, he says his healing is fast and that he can block the blade with his muscles. He then opens the enemy's mouth and prepares for a close-range and very gross attack. With a spit attack, he hits the masked man right in the face without hesitation. Our hero then rips off the enemy's mask and says he did what he promised. With a curious look, he notices there's something inside the mask he just tore off. He then finds a jade pendant and wonders if the test is about collecting loot. With the knife at his waist, he wonders if he needs to hunt enemies to get the pendants. With a determined look, he realizes this is like a battle royal and gets ready. Suddenly, he's surrounded by a red aura and realizes he's being attacked. A silhouette with a crossbow appears, and he wonders if it's another wave of enemies. With a wicked smile, he says he hates ambushes more than anything else. Without hesitation, he dodges an arrow that hits the ground with incredible force. The enemy then fires a shower of energy arrows to try and hit him. With his body covered in arrows, he seems to have been defeated by the surprise attack. But with a smile, he says the enemy is naive if they think they can beat him like that. In his monster form, he releases a purple aura and instantly regenerates from the wounds. A blue and purple crystal creature forms and attacks a building with all its might. The entire building collapses from the impact of the attack, and the other students are startled. Shocked, one of the students asks what happened and realizes the whole building fell. Amidst the rubble, our hero emerges and says he wants to see who attacked him. A man in a rabbit mask appears, and he realizes they are the signs of the zodiac. With his spear, the enemy attacks and spins in the air for a powerful and acrobatic blow. The rabbit man then charges with his spear for a piercing and accurate attack. Our hero then blocks the attack with his shoe in a surprising move. Shocked, he realizes the enemy knows martial arts and isn't just a simple henchman. With the tip of the spear at his face, he braces for the enemy's next attack. With no time to waste, he creates a wall of ice to protect himself from the spear's blow. The ice wall then expands and traps the enemy in the middle of several sharp crystals. Suddenly, Chujo appears and tells him to leave the rabbit to him in the battle. With his glowing sword, he attacks the rabbit man with a powerful and accurate blow. With red eyes, the enemy faces the attack and prepares for the combat to come. The two then exchange a series of swift sword strikes filled with blue energy. The rabbit man then breaks free from the ice crystals with a single powerful blow. Without wasting time, he charges and attacks Chujo with his sharp spear. With his spear covered in purple energy, he prepares for a devastating strike. Suddenly, the enemy's eyes go wide with surprise at something unexpected. A purple energy blade grazes past his face, and he is almost hit. A giant bluish creature grabs him and says it finally caught him in its trap. Next, a blue energy beam is fired, causing a massive explosion at the site. A few minutes earlier, one of the students wonders if the guy who entered has already been defeated. Another female student complains that the boy was arrogant and must be a local student. They comment that the top scorers from big cities are on another level. One of them explains that the freshman presidents are always locals from Huadu. Suddenly, a massive bluish explosion lights up the sky, catching everyone's attention. Shocked by the scene, they wonder if that was an electric cannon or something similar. Two students observe the energy beam and are impressed by so much power. One asks the other what he thinks, and he replies with a serious look. The young man explains that the attack doesn't fit the style of the masked figures and must be from a freshman. Lying on the ground, the rabbit man screams in pain as he is hit by our hero's attack. One of the students says they need to go check, as they have already collected several pendants. He explains that if the masked figures are organizing by zodiac signs, only a few pendants are left. With a serious look, he thinks about the dragon pendant and prepares for what's to come. He warns that the dragon monster is a deadly existence and that they cannot confront it. The other young man says the freshman who fired the beam has several pendants and that the game has entered the final round. With a determined look, he says that if they want to win, they need to steal pendants from others. Elsewhere, our hero holds the jade pendant he got from the pig man. He explains to Joe that the test is about collecting all the animal pendants. His friend asks if they are going to hunt the masked men to get the items. Our hero confirms and says the man who attacked him on the roof must have escaped in the kiosk. He explains that since the arrow hit him, he can track him, and so the two set off. Arriving at the location, they observe the buildings destroyed by the battle that took place there. On top of a cliff, they notice there are signs of battle, and that someone got there first. Touching the burn marks, he notes they are still warm, and that the enemy isn't far. With a watchful eye, Chujo senses they are nearby and prepares for a fight. He then draws his glowing sword and gets ready to attack the hiding enemies. With a sword strike, he creates several ice spikes that erupt from the ground with force. Suddenly, a girl appears and complains that her optical invisibility was detected. Elsewhere, we see the city in ruins with several buildings destroyed and tilted. On top of the ice crystals, Chujo tells the enemy to get out of the way, as he's up to no good. Suddenly, a girl covered in flames appears, and he recognizes her as the new student Lan Yusi. She then attacks with a powerful fire sphere that creates a large energy explosion. A young man emerges from the smoke and says the girl's optical camouflage is too weak to fool him. The young woman then explains that they defeated a masked man and were waiting for more. The young man then lights a cigarette and prepares for the combat that is about to begin. With a serious look, our protagonist asks what that is and gets ready to attack. Without hesitation, he charges forward and grabs the girl by the neck with incredible speed. With an annoyed look, she thinks her clone has been discovered and that the boy has skills. The friend then throws his cigarette to the ground and says it's now his turn to attack. Suddenly, his body begins to swell, and he transforms into a bizarre creature. In his new form, he fires a cloud of black smoke to attack our hero. From the impact of the smoke, Chujo is thrown far away with force. Lan Yusi then warns him not to think about running and prepares to use her fan. With a dance-like motion, she summons the wind and creates a green energy tornado. The tornado then swallows the smoke cloud and dissipates it with the force of the wind. The young man then attacks with a fire sphere to heat things up for his enemy. A massive fire explosion occurs, illuminating the entire battlefield with its light. The young man boasts of his strength and says that even if he's strong, he's no match for them. With his hand covered in energy, Chujo prepares to counter-attack. With a simple clap of his hands, he dissipates the fire cloud with a shockwave. Shocked by the scene, the young man wonders how he managed to dissipate his fire cloud. With no time to think, our hero attacks him with his royal barrier-breaking fist. The blow hits the young man squarely and sends him flying with devastating force. From the impact, the young man flies through the air and hits the battlefield floor hard. Terrified, Lan Yusi thinks they don't have techniques to level up and are trapped. Suddenly, her feet are frozen, and she realizes she forgot about the other boy. The young woman thinks that even as a team, they couldn't beat him, and that they are in trouble. With her fan in hand, she says there's no point in fighting anymore as she has no chance of winning. She then uses the wind to free herself from the ice and prepares to flee the battle. With no other choice, the girl decides to run to save her life from the dangerous situation. But suddenly, our hero grabs her by the ankle and prevents her from escaping the area. Terrified by the scene, the young woman screams in despair as she is caught in her escape attempt. He then throws her hard against the ground and prepares to finish the fight at once. With his fist in flames, he prepares to use his cosmic martial art on the girl. She then creates several green energy clones to try to escape the boy's attack. With a wicked smile, he taunts her and asks if she is trying to get away from him. He then unleashes his demonic aura, and several shadowy creatures appear around him. The creatures grab the girl's clones, and she screams in pain as she is caught in the trap. With a scary smile, he tells her to accept her fate, as she can neither fight nor run. Desperate, Lang Yusi surrenders and says that all her pendants are now his. She explains that to win the test, one must collect all 12 pendants. With a wicked smile, she offers to take him to the others to cause trouble. He tells her not to worry and compliments her on her fan, which he found interesting. Elsewhere, we see the city in ruins, with several buildings destroyed and tilted. Two students run across the rooftops and wonder if the other two have found them yet. Suddenly, the blonde-haired young man spots a body on the ground and becomes alert. The two then approach and realize there is a body lying in the middle of the street. Shocked by the scene, the young man wonders if that is really Sin Chen's body. In a flashback, the young man flees and thinks he needs to team up with the others to survive. Suddenly, he is hit by a surprise attack and turns to see who attacked him. A mysterious figure with an energy sword appears and stares at him with red eyes. With his eyes wide with terror, he realizes that creature is the dragon. Terrified by the scene, he screams in despair upon recognizing the most powerful monster. With a single blow, the creature defeats him, and his body is covered in a bluish light. The monster then takes the young man's pendants and leaves, leaving his body behind. Back in the present, the young man wonders why Sin Chen was defeated there in that way. He explains that the masked dragon was only supposed to operate in the underground parking garage. In a flashback, the young man and his followers are defeated by the dragon monster, and only two escape. He remembers the warm blood and can't believe the monster was willing to actually take lives. With a sweaty and terrified face, the pink-haired young man is shocked by the scene. He then realizes that Jin Chan's pendant has been taken, and that they are in trouble. The young man explains that the masked dragon has been set free, because all the others have been defeated. With a determined look, he says they need to get the pendants before the dragon does. With golden wings, he prepares to fly and release a signal to attract the others. He explains they need to lure the others and fight to the end to get the pendants. With a golden energy ring, he releases his power, and a firebird appears in the sky. Elsewhere, Lu Qingju thinks she was dragged into that dead city for no reason. She remembers a teacher saying he could get one person out of there. Looking at a photo on her phone, she says she needs to warn Nihi not to get involved. With a headache, she thinks that with her friend's strength, he wouldn't lose to the dragon. Sitting on top of a building, she observes the city and prepares for what's to come. Suddenly, she realizes she's been discovered and her eyes widen in surprise. She understands she can't escape and that she needs to lure them to the dragon's parking garage. A young man with golden wings identifies her as Lu Qingju and prepares to attack. He explains he researched her and that the girl has the ox pendant with her. He laughs at her foolishness and says the masked dragon has already left the underground parking garage. With a twirl of his wings, he tells his friend to wait for him, as he's going to grab someone first. Suddenly, several explosions happen in the city's underground parking garage. With his wings spread, he warns the girl that she cannot escape him at all. Suddenly, he recognizes the voice and wonders who is speaking to him at that moment. He can't believe it's the masked dragon, as it should be hunting the others. Shocked by the scene, he realizes that if the target is the pendant holder, then he is the target. He then remembers he has 4 pendants and that the dragon will come after him first. The dragon's eyes glow with a purple light, and it says that arrogance only brings danger. With his eyes wide with surprise, the young man prepares for the battle against the dragon. Floating in the air, he faces the monster as it prepares to attack him with its black smoke. With his golden wings, he realizes the dragon can use a field domain to fight. He understands that the domain pulls him in and he can only escape by defeating the enemy. The monster then charges and prepares to attack him with its purple energy sword. The young man protects himself with his golden wings, but is hit by several strikes from the sword. With a roar, the creature charges for a final, devastating attack with its sword. Elsewhere, we see the city in ruins, with several buildings destroyed and tilted. Our hero and his friend come across the blonde-haired young man and prepare for a fight. Our protagonist mocks him and asks if he's using the global chat to provoke people. Chujo tells him to leave the guy to him, as he wants to test his own strength. The blonde-haired young man then attacks with his claws, and the aura of a tiger appears behind him. With his ice sword, Chujo prepares for the combat that is about to begin. With a sword strike, he creates several ice spikes that hit the enemy head-on. With a wicked smile, the blonde-haired young man asks where he thinks he's running. The two then exchange a series of fast and powerful blows in the middle of the battle. Shocked by the enemy's strength, Chujo prepares for the next attack. With his glowing sword, he concentrates and gets ready to use his strongest technique. He says the sword and the man are now one and prepares for the final blow. His sword then transforms into a giant ice dragon that charges toward the enemy. The blonde-haired young man then counter-attacks with his claws and the aura of a giant tiger. The two then clash in a confrontation of auras and powerful martial skills. Sitting on a rock, our hero watches the fight with a bored and an interested look. Shocked by the scene, the pink-haired young man realizes his friend is asking for help. Shujo then blocks the enemy's attack with his sword in a defensive move. Angrily, the blonde-haired young man complains that if he didn't have urgent business, he would defeat him. Our hero then attacks with an energy sphere and asks what just happened. The energy strike hits the young man squarely and causes a massive bluish explosion. The attack then continues and destroys several streetlights with its force. Lying on the ground, the young man wonders if he was hit by a beast, and our hero taunts him. Screaming in anger, the young man calls him arrogant and says he wants to end his life. 3 minutes later, we see the blonde-haired young man completely defeated with a swollen face. Our hero then picks up his sword and says it has a good weight and that he'll borrow it. He then covers the sword with his energy and says it needs some reinforcements. With a wicked smile, he transforms the weapon into a powerful, blue crystal sword. Shujo then reports that he didn't find any pendants in the guy's ring but found a jade necklace. He explains that the pendant is glowing and seems to be sending some kind of signal somewhere. The scene then shifts to a dark and desolate place where we see a broken sword on the ground. Next, we see the pink-haired young man completely injured and defeated after a battle. With a wary look, he laments, as he didn't expect that to be his limit in the fight. Soon after, the dragon monster appears, and the young man says he used relics to seal its power. But unfortunately, he sacrificed an arm and still narrowly missed the monster's heart. With an injured face, he regrets having lost his only chance to defeat that enemy. Without hesitation, the monster attacks him with several dark energy claws without any mercy. With a final blow, the creature hits him squarely, leaving him on the ground with no strength left. Elsewhere, Lu Qingju climbs the stairs, struggling to endure and keep moving forward. Reaching the rooftop, she thinks the dragon is terrifying and that she is no match for it. With a bruised face, she understands the other boy won't last and that she will be next. She then decides that to survive, she needs to find a way to call our hero to escape. With a determined look, the young woman activates the awakening of her ethereal sparrow bloodline. The young woman then releases a massive wave of purple energy to create her own flare. Fallen on the ground and exhausted, she says it hurt a lot and hopes our hero sees her signal. Suddenly, her glowing purple eye stares at something with great attention and also surprise. Looking down, the girl hears a sound and can't believe what is happening. Terrified, she sees the dragon monster floating and staring up at her from below with a cold gaze. Terrified, the young woman wonders how it found her and decides to send another signal to our hero. Her eyes glow purple as she prepares another energy signal to alert him. A huge purple energy dome then forms on top of one of the city's buildings. Suddenly, the dragon monster lands in front of the young woman, who is lying on the building's rooftop. The creature then raises its hand and prepares to attack the girl with its purple blade. With a sad look, the young woman thinks there is no time left and that this will be her end. Suddenly, the monster's smoke domain shatters into 1,000 pieces in front of her. Our protagonist then appears and kicks the monster, shouting that he made a promise to the young woman's parents. Shocked and with tears in her eyes, the girl shouts our hero's name upon seeing him there. The monster then glares at the newcomer with its red eyes full of anger. Angrily, our hero shouts and questions what that creature in front of him is. Without wasting time, he attacks with his blue energy sword in a devastating blow. The energy attack then cuts an entire building in half with impressive force. With the girl in his arms, he tells her to find the others and says he will handle the enemy alone. A beam of blue energy shoots up into the sky, slicing another building and showing his power. The building is left with a V-shaped cut as the young man faces the enemy watching him from a distance. The monster then stomps the ground with its purple energy sword, ready for combat. He then says the place was suspicious and asks if the monster only knows how to fight by hiding. Suddenly, our hero notices the relic nail in its chest and is shocked by the sight. With a serious look, he wonders if that was the plan the other young man mentioned. The dragon monster then charges with absurd speed toward our hero. With an excited smile, he is impressed by the speed and prepares for the blow. The two then clash, and the force of the impact creates a small crater in the ground. With his sword, he blocks the blow and says he is looking forward to this great battle. The scene then shows a huge abandoned building that will be the stage for their fight. With their attacks, the two slice the building into 3 pieces with incredible force. The building then collapses in a cloud of dust and debris all over the city. Our hero then blocks another powerful attack from the monster with his crystal sword. With a roar, the creature prepares another attack with its mouth full of sharp teeth. Gritting his teeth, he uses all his strength to hold back the dragon monster's blow. The creature's strike hits the ground and creates a massive purple energy explosion. A large explosion of blue and purple energy illuminates the entire sky with its intense light. With its body covered in a blue aura, the monster emerges from the smoke with its red eyes. A huge pillar of blue energy then erupts from the ground and destroys another city building. In his monster form, he says he has finally found a worthy opponent to fight. With a serious look, he realizes the enemy won't be defeated so easily. With his claw, he crushes a rock and prepares for the final showdown between them. The monster then reveals its final form with its body covered in a purple and dark aura. With a wicked smile, he says an unbeatable boss wouldn't fall so easily. The creature then raises its sword and prepares for a final, devastating attack. With his eyes glowing intensely, he faces the monster and prepares for the confrontation. The monster then attacks with a spinning strike from its sword covered in purple energy. Shocked, he realizes the enemy's strength and speed have increased after its mask broke. With its red eyes glowing, the creature glares at him with hatred and a thirst for battle. The monster's sword then clashes against the blade on our hero's arm with force. To his surprise, the blade on his arm shatters from the impact of the monster's blow. Without wasting time, the enemy prepares to attack again with its purple energy sword. The sword's blade glows with an intense and very powerful and intimidating purple energy. With a quick move, he bites down and holds the sword with his own teeth. With a wicked smile, he says he has finally caught the monster in his trap. Suddenly, a monster's tail sprouts from his back, revealing a new part of his form. Shocked, the creature's eyes go wide with surprise at the new transformation. He then prepares a powerful punch with his hand covered in a bright blue energy. Under the broken mask, the monster reveals its true face with a serious and cold look. With a calm gaze, it warns that the battle is not over yet, and that the boy should not be careless. Shouting, it introduces itself as Technician number 23 and charges for the final attack. He then fires a powerful blue energy beam from his mouth to attack the enemy. With a wicked smile, he lists the weak points of the human body, like the throat and heart. He explains that the other young man's spikes block the monster's meridians and energy. The creature is then trapped by a web of blue energy and can no longer move or fight. It then lets go of its sword and throws it toward our hero in a last-ditch effort. The monster then spins in the air and launches its sword in a final, desperate attack. But our hero catches the blade with his claw and says he already knew it wouldn't give up. He says the enemy's only chance was to use the information advantage to catch him by surprise. But even then, it would only have a 30% chance of winning the fight. With a look of fury, he screams for the enemy just be done with it right there. Suddenly, a wave of red and black energy appears and attacks the monster with full force. He thinks the treasure fan with murderous intent is stronger in our hero's hand. Covered in a blue aura, he warns the faceless punk that the fight isn't over yet. With a shout, he prepares for the first punch of his devastating attack sequence. A massive blue energy explosion occurs and sends the enemy flying from the impact. With its body contorted, the monster flies through the air with no chance to defend itself. Without wasting time, he fires the second punch, which flies at high speed toward the enemy. Next, he uses his mountain blocking fist in a powerful and accurate black flash. The attacks hit several buildings and cause mass destruction throughout the city. Lying in a crater, the monster seems to have finally been defeated by the boy's attacks. He then mocks the enemy and says he thought it was a dragon, but it was nothing more than a worm. With a bloodied face and red eyes, the monster whispers for him to finish it off. With a wicked look, the creature says its goodbyes and seems to be plotting something terrible. Suddenly, its body shatters and a giant monster appears to devour it completely. Holding the dragon pendant, he says it's time to finally end the game. Elsewhere, the blonde-haired young man is shocked and speechless by the situation. The group then gathers, and our hero approaches the others who were waiting for him. Liu Qingzhu then scolds him for going to fight the powerful dragon monster alone. Chu Zhou explains that with the exception of our hero, everyone else would have just gotten in the way. She agrees, as she was injured, and Layman's not being strong enough to help him. Suddenly, the boy startles her and asks what she's thinking about at that moment. With a curious look, he asks to borrow the ox pendant, and the young woman awkwardly agrees. He then decides to arrange all 12 pendants in the order of the Chinese zodiac animals. His friend asks if he got the order wrong, since nothing happened, and the boy becomes thoughtful. The blonde guy explains that the dragon pendant is special and shouldn't be used to pass the test. Suddenly, the ox pendant floats in the air and reveals that it is actually the key to everything. The group is shocked by the scene and wonders if they activated some kind of secret mechanism. A golden light then cracks the sky and begins to descend toward the floating city. With his eyes wide with surprise, the young man shouts and asks what that is in the sky. Suddenly, a giant flaming eye appears in the sky and stares down at all of them. Terrified by the scene, our protagonist shouts and curses, not understanding anything he's seeing. Suddenly, a person starts falling from the sky at high speed toward the city. Without a second thought, our hero leaps into the air to try and catch the falling person. With a shocked face, he realizes who the person is and is completely stunned by the scene. Back on the train, the students wake up confused and wonder if it was all just a dream. A voice explains that it was all an illusion created by an artifact for the freshman test. An announcement informs them that our hero and his team placed first and will receive a reward. The other students are shocked by the news and wonder who he is to win like that. With his eyes glowing intensely, he thinks that the reward has finally arrived. The system congratulates him and gives him a model lottery draw as a reward for the victory. A mysterious card appears, and he says that this time he won't use any dirty tricks. A red, muscular demon monster then appears, revealing his new model. The system reveals it to be a D-class vampire with blood abilities and an immortal body. The Huadu University train then continues on its way at high speed along the tracks. He gets excited about the vampire and its time-freezing ability, and another boy approaches him. The blonde-haired boy questions if he defeated the dragon monster, and the other calms him down. With a cold look, our hero corrects him and says that he actually took down the monster. Shocked by the answer, the pink-haired boy is left speechless and sweating. The blonde guy then invites him to his new club and offers him the position of president. The pink-haired one praises him and says his strength gives them hope of breaking the tradition. The other students get excited by the scene and think that this is a historic moment. But he refuses the offer and says he has no interest in fighting and prefers to go it alone. The young man then hands him his business card and says he hopes to work with him in the future. The scene then ends with the train continuing its journey toward the sunset. Chu Zhou, our hero's friend, then tells him they have finally arrived at their destination. With his eyes wide with surprise, he is completely shocked by the scene he sees. He is impressed with the city of Huadu and its enormous, futuristic buildings. The students then get off the train and walk along the platform of the city's station. An employee then directs them to go through a gate to get to the campus. Without hesitation, the group of students begins to walk toward their new destination. Suddenly, the other freshmen are shocked by something that appears in front of them. A futuristic aircraft appears and the employee tells everyone to board in an orderly fashion. We then see the students walking in a line to board the university's modern aircraft. With a playful smile, he startles Lu Chungju and calls her by the nickname Little Jozu. She scolds him for his actions in public, and he asks why they are taking a plane. With a blushing face, she wonders why her mother promised her to a country bumpkin. He then explains that it's because Huadu University is in the sky, and she is shocked by the news. The aircraft then arrives at a massive floating city, which is Huadu University. The vehicle then passes through an electromagnetic net that protects the entire floating campus. He realizes the net is to prevent invasions and that his detection range has decreased. Upon disembarking, an employee asks everyone to present their student IDs. He then shows his ID, which reveals his S-rank classification to everyone's surprise. Next, they are instructed to go to the maglev station to take the train to the dormitory. The scene then shows a huge futuristic building with the train tracks running up its side. Inside the train, he brags about having arrived in the highest city in the world, and the others ignore him. In the elevator, he talks to his friend about their rooms and finds out he'll be on a lower floor. Arriving at the room, he's impressed by the university's spacious and luxurious dormitory. With open arms, he gets excited to see a latest generation computer on his desk. Next, he comes across a hot tub and says that no one can resist one of these. Lying on the bed, he celebrates as he feels like he's in a 5-star hotel with so much luxury. With a wicked smile, he decides it's time to get to work and max out his vampire model. Sitting on the bed, he figures out how to use the student ID and converts his money into points. With his eyes wide with surprise, he complains about the price, as 100,000 coins are worth only 1 point. He then decides to buy blood attribute magic cores to strengthen his new model. A drone delivers his order, and he is impressed by the speed and technology of the service. With an excited smile, he opens the box and prepares to eat all the cores at once. With a hand on his stomach, he complains that eating everything at once messed up his insides. A system screen then informs him that his compatibility has reached 100% and he has evolved. Looking in the mirror, he is impressed with his new vampire appearance with red eyes. He then opens his mouth and shows his fangs, which are now much sharper than before. With his teeth showing, he thinks that drinking blood will now be as easy as drinking milk tea. Next, his nails grow and become sharp claws with red, glowing tips. With a tear of blood in his eye, he says he now has a very bold idea in his mind. Without hesitation, he attacks his own arm and prepares to test his new vampire ability. Covered in blood, he leans on the bathroom sink after seriously injuring himself. The blood then flows from his wound, and he spits it out of his body. The dark red blood continues to pour from the wound on his neck without stopping. Suddenly, the wound begins to close on its own and heals in a matter of seconds. He realizes the vampire's regeneration ability is quite useful, but it's not the most important thing. In the training room, he is impressed because even the dorms have a place to train. With his body covered in a red aura, he prepares to test his new ability. With his eyes glowing intensely, he gets excited about what he is about to do. Suddenly, a red monster with bat wings appears in front of him for training. With a serious look, he challenges it to a punch to test his strength and resistance. The monster then attacks with its claws and prepares for a devastating and accurate blow. Right after, a white clone with rose details appears to fight against the monster. The clone then attacks with a powerful punch covered in a bright red energy. He then crosses his arms and prepares to defend against the blow with all his strength. The punch hits him squarely and releases a wave of red energy that spreads through the area. From the impact, his arms break and turn into blue energy skeletons. The attack then throws him hard against the training room wall with a great impact. With his body injured, he is impressed by the attack's strength and decides to test the time stop power. With a dark blue aura, he prepares to use the time freezing ability. With an excited smile, he uses his ability and time in the room suddenly stops. A countdown begins and we see that he can stop time for 2 seconds. He manages to maintain the ability for 3 seconds, but the time bubble begins to crack. At 4 seconds, the bubble cracks even more, and he struggles to continue with the power. He wonders if 5 seconds is the limit but decides he must continue at all costs. With his face covered in blood, he manages to reach 5.3 seconds and the bubble shatters. The clone then attacks with its rose claws and prepares for a devastating blow. With the impact of time breaking, the clone is completely destroyed into 1,000 pieces. With his body injured, he thinks that 5 seconds was the original body's limit but not his. The next morning, he and Chuzhou are walking through the Huada University campus. He complains about the sunlight and realizes that with the vampire model, he has come to dislike the light. His friend asks if he has seen the new academic reform, and the boy says he hasn't seen anything. A screen explains that the university has adopted a group mentoring system for students. His friend says they need to find a mentor, but the boy corrects him and says that he doesn't need one. He then shows an announcement that says our hero has the right to choose any mentor. The scene then shifts to the athletics gym, where students are gathered for selection. Our hero is impressed by the number of people and the evaluation system. He tells his friend to go on ahead because he's going to take a walk, since he can choose his mentor. With a bored look, he complains that choosing mentors is a very tedious task. Suddenly, he smells a familiar scent, and a red ribbon brushes past his face. With his eyes wide with surprise, he realizes that it is the smell of blood in the air. He realizes the scent of blood has a murderous intent and decides to find the source. Startled, he is surprised to find the origin of the blood scent on campus. A little girl with white hair is squatting and eating a snack next to a pool of blood. Shocked, he wonders if such a cute girl can be the source of that terrifying aura. With her orange eyes glowing, the little girl stares at him with a curious and attentive look. Suddenly, the young girl asks if he has trained the flesh and bone demonic physique technique. Confused, he wonders how she knows that and why she is calling him a child. With a surprised look, he remembers the spirit of the statue and is shocked by the resemblance. She then reveals that Lu Chenghu was her disciple more than 90 years ago, and the young man doubts it. He thinks it's impossible for someone to alter their skeleton to childlike proportions without being noticed. Annoyed by his suspicion, the little girl glares at him with her intensely glowing red eyes. With a funny face, he says it's easier to believe she is Emperor Qun than to believe her. Suddenly, he finds himself in a guillotine and stares at the blade with his eyes wide with terror. The blade then descends and he sees himself being attacked by a shadow with glowing red eyes. The little girl then steps on his face, and he realizes it was all just a hallucination. Shocked, he wonders if it was a hallucination because he felt like he was really about to perish. Frightened, he shouts the name of the ability the little girl just used on him in the illusion. The young girl then offers him a lollipop, and he accepts, still shocked by what happened. With a sad look, she asks him not to report her, as she only has 1 or 2 free hours a week. With the lollipop in his mouth, he looks at her and asks who she really is and what she's doing there. With a smile, she introduces herself as Gong Qi, a very powerful grandmaster from the university. Suddenly, he kneels before her and breaks the ground with the force of his bow. With a determined look, he asks to be her apprentice as she is the right master for him. Shocked by the request, the little girl is left speechless with a nervous sweat on her face. Elsewhere, we see the entrance to the athletics gym where the students are gathered. We then see the 5 deans of the university who are there to observe the new students. The students wonder why the deans are there, and one of them explains it's because of Yi He. The narration explains that the test was broadcast live for the teachers to evaluate the students. Even the students who didn't take down any enemies received high scores for their performance. But what shocked everyone was that he defeated the dragon, a boss that wasn't even part of the test. One of the deans reveals that the dragon was a model created from the data of a former student. He explains that even without fully replicating the student's power, it was still the strongest of all. The deans then decide to wait with excitement to see which of them our hero will choose. Suddenly, a man runs in and says he has bad news for the dean. Shocked by the news, they find out that our hero has already chosen Gong Qi as his mentor. With a smile, he grabs her and says he recognizes her as his master, even against her will. She explains she was expelled from the university, but he thinks it's good that she's over 100 years old. With a bright smile, he promises to find a way to give her back her freedom. With her eyes shining with excitement, the little girl accepts the proposal, and the recruitment is a success. Suddenly, the scene freezes, and a "wait a second" notice appears on the screen for the next chapter. Suddenly, the deans appear, and our hero complains that a bunch of meddlers showed up. One of them scolds Gong Qi for interacting with the students and tells her to go home immediately. She asks the young man's name, and he introduces himself as Yi He, her new master, respectfully. With a smile, the little girl tells him to come home with her, and the two run off. They then arrive at the Hodu Research Institute, a modern and futuristic building. Suddenly, the young girl falls to the ground with a pouting face, and our hero watches her, confused. He then follows her down a hallway and asks why she lives in such a remote place. In the elevator, she explains that she used to hurt people, and that's why she was placed there. She calls him strange and asks if he shouldn't be afraid of the situation. With a nervous smile, he asks if he should be afraid of being sliced up by her. Suddenly, the elevator stops on floor -666, and the door opens. He asks why the hallway is so narrow, and she says that only she can walk through there. Suddenly, he notices a timer on the door and wonders what that count is for. Desperate, she yells for him to get in because there's no more time to waste on questions. She explains that the alarm goes off in the dean's office if she's not back in time, and she'll be hunted down. With no other choice, he grabs her and throws her into the room to save her from punishment. The timer then hits 0, and the door closes right in front of our protagonist. The door closes, and a pink energy barrier activates to lock the room for good. Relieved, she thinks that thankfully she made it back in time to not get caught by the guards. With a serious look, he notices there is a magnetic field preventing him from using his techniques. With a calm look, Gong Qi explains that this is her solitary confinement cell. She says the dean built this 3-story house to prevent her from escaping. Lying on the sofa, she says the place has everything but also magnetic suppressors for security. With a funny face, he thinks that this is more like a luxury suite than a cell. Elsewhere, we see the entrance to Huadu University with its traditional architecture. The dean receives the news that our hero has become Gong Qi's disciple and says to let him be. With a serious look, he decides to let him train with her, as he will be the whetstone for the others. Sitting at his desk, he carefully observes the little girl's file on his monitor. The screen shows she has a 5% chance of losing control, and he has an 89% chance of not surviving. A man explains that special class combatants are criminals with uncontrollable powers. He says the boy needs to be ready to purge to face someone like her, and that the nation is out of time. Observing the city, he thinks the new generation needs to grow up fast to face the threats. In the training room, Gonki says it's been decades since she taught anyone and challenges him to a fight. Laughing, she apologizes for forgetting to suppress her power and gets ready to fight. With a serious look, he prepares for the fight and she stretches for the upcoming combat. He thinks he doesn't want to relive the guillotine illusion and prepares to fight with everything he's got. The young girl then charges with her glowing red eyes and attacks with a swift blow. Shocked, he realizes she went straight for his vital points and wonders about the friendly training. He understands she can read his body and that there's no point in trying to dodge the blows. With no other choice, he transforms and decides to take the attack head on with all his power. In his monster form, he prepares to defend against the attack with his spiked fist. With an excited smile, Gonki says he's trying to use his awakening to increase his strength. She then attacks him and says it's a pity because she is even faster than him in that form. With a single blow, she hits him squarely and sends him flying back with incredible force. With his eyes wide with pain, he screams as he's thrown far away by the impact. In another part of the room, we see the two facing each other after the little girl's powerful attack. With his body injured, he complains that she's not going easy on him and that his awakening was nullified. With her face smeared with blood, she laughs and says it's been a while since she tasted blood. With a serious look, he warns her he's going to use an unfair ability and asks for her guidance. A giant blue energy creature appears, and he faces her, ready for the next phase of the fight. He thinks it's a good thing he maxed out his giant model the night before the training. With an excited look, the young girl prepares to show her skills as a teacher. With an acrobatic move, she leaps and attacks with a powerful red energy kick. The giant creature then takes the full blow, and an energy explosion occurs. Energy cannon is fired, and a large bluish explosion illuminates the training room. A giant mecha form then appears, and the little girl stares at it with a curious look. With her eyes shining with excitement, she seems very impressed with the new power. The giant mecha then moves to attack the little girl with its blue energy fist. With a puff of breath, she extinguishes the energy of his attack and prepares to counter-attack. Next, she creates a giant red energy hand and prepares to attack the mecha. Gonki's blow then shatters the mecha's armor into 1,000 pieces in the air. Shocked, he realizes she destroyed his armor as if it were nothing. With his blue eye glowing intensely, he prepares for the next step of his plan. She finds him inside the armor and wonders why he is hiding in there. With a confident smile, the young girl tells him to get out of there before she forces him out. With a leap, she uses her split form, and several spikes appear on the mecha's armor. With a powerful kick, she attacks the armor with all her might at once. He then challenges her and asks if she can cut through his nuclear energy sphere. With a wicked smile, he says his nuclear breath won't melt her, but he wants to see her defense. Suddenly, he finds himself trapped in chains and being pulled into the middle of an illusion. Terrified, he faces the guillotine's blade and realizes he can't escape the illusion. The blade then descends at high speed, and he prepares for the little girl's final blow. He then decides to use his time-freezing ability to try to escape the illusion. The young girl is caught by surprise, and he realizes he has pushed her to the limit and needs to resist. Suddenly, the Rose clone appears and prepares to attack with a shower of punches. The energy punches then hit the illusion and begin to break the mental barrier. With the impact, the illusion shatters into 1,000 pieces, and he manages to escape the trap. With a calm and serious look, he faces the young girl, who seems to be exhausted after the attack. Lying on the floor, he wakes up, and the little girl praises him for his turtle shell being very sturdy. Sitting on the floor, he remembers the scene and realizes she pulled him out of his armor's mouth. With a suspicious look, he accuses her of cheating during the training fight. With a confident smile, she says she beat him fair and square and that there was no cheating. She then admits that she might have used a little more force than necessary. With a blank expression, he remains silent and just stares at her without saying anything. With the lollipop in her mouth, she also stays silent and seems awkward about the situation. Suddenly, the little girl starts to cry and begs him not to leave her all alone. Awkwardly, he tries to calm her down and asks her to stop crying like that. With her eyes full of tears, she asks if he really won't leave and abandon her there. With a smile, he says he worked hard to be her disciple and that he's not going anywhere. Striking a confident pose, she says she wasn't crying and he praises her recovery. She then praises him for his talent and says they can start the real training. With a serious look, he says he wants to learn advanced techniques and how she defeated him. Opening a can of soda, she says it's hard to teach and that you have to feel it. With her red eyes, she explains that the secret to her power is finding the line. She explains that everything has an entry point that can be cut, and it's called the death line. Shocked by the explanation, he realizes her style is completely different from others. He understands that while others use brute force, she uses precision and perfect technique. Sitting beside him, she warns that to learn her techniques, he needs a solid foundation. She then asks if he knows the difference between a martial disciple and a martial artist. The young girl explains that it's not about physical improvement, but about the mind and inner vision. The master explains that with inner vision, a martial artist can see their own organs and strengthen them. With a smile, he is impressed with his teacher and thinks the vampire has made him smarter. Sitting next to her, the boy asks about the different methods of leveling up that exist. A screen then explains that the techniques are classified into 4 different power levels. The young girl says that students from weak schools only have access to easy, unclassified techniques. But at Huadu University, students start with at least Xuanhuan level methods. Curious, our hero then asks about the other 2 higher levels that exist in the world. She explains that the Tiangang level ones are sacred relics, and there are fewer than 10 in the world. The master warns him that at his current level, there is no way he can get access to such a rare technique. But with a smile, she says he can learn a Disha level technique, and he is shocked. The young girl then summons a red book and reveals that she has mastered a technique of this level. She explains that the ancient spirit's technique was inspired by that same fighting method. With his eyes shining with excitement, the boy shouts that he really wants to learn that technique. The little girl agrees and warns him to get ready, because they are starting the training right now. With a drop of sweat on his face, he is terrified to realize another heavy training session is coming. Suddenly, he is transported to a red energy domain to begin the training. With a wicked smile, the young girl says she loves the smell of blood and gets ready for the training. The scene then shifts to a night view of the floating city of Huadu University. In a courtyard, Chuzhou walks alone, as class has just ended. He then turns and watches our protagonist, who is walking in the opposite direction. With a smile, he asks how his first day was and prepares to attack him. Suddenly, our hero draws a sword and attacks his friend out of reflex, without a second thought. Chuzhou dodges the blow, and the sword sticks in the ground with a bright blue aura. Shocked by his own reaction, he apologizes and says it was just a reflex. Startled, his friend stares at him and wonders what he has been through to be so on edge. He then remembers the training and how he was surrounded by a horde of zombies. 10 hours earlier, in the realm of illusion, a drop of blood falls into a red and dark lake. A horde of zombies emerges from the water, and the master tells him to fight without using his powers. Desperate, he is surrounded by the monsters and wonders how he will fight with just a knife. Gomki explains that the goal is to train his muscle memory, so he attacks instinctively. With a determined look, he understands the training's objective and prepares to fight. With his knife in hand, he begins to fight the zombie horde with everything he has. The master watches him and thinks the boy is truly very impressive and talented. Amidst the defeated zombies, he concentrates and realizes the technique is dangerous. She praises him for his bright future and says she is looking forward to seeing his growth. Back in the dorm, he enters his luxurious room to rest after the training. In the bathtub, he complains that he is exhausted and that now he understands why the university is the best. Suddenly, his phone rings and he sees a call from Lu Qingju, who is waiting for him in the room. Lying on her bed, she informs him that her mother sent what he asked for and that she has it. With her back to the camera, she thanks him for helping her get first place on the team. With a blushing face, she says he doesn't have to and that she will send the items by drone to him. Sitting on the bed, she reveals that her mentor is Dean Bai and asks about his mentor. Underwater, he thinks it's better not to tell her he rejected 5 deans to not make her sad. Half a semester later, a narration explains that the first term is almost over for the freshmen. It is explained that the pink-haired boy created a society and gained influence among the newcomers. But after the upperclassmen returned, they clashed with the new society and lost. Now the most famous freshman is Xiang Jianhui, who is the top scorer in the admission exam. But our hero, who was once the center of attention, has disappeared, and no one remembers him anymore. In the Research Institute's basement, he trains with his master, who tells him to go faster. With her foot on his back, she injects her energy to help him solidify his new level. Gritting his teeth, he complains that she sealed his energy and that now it feels like lifting a mountain. The young girl then teases him and asks if he's already tired, as they haven't even reached 1,000 yet. Angrily, he yells for her to watch and prepares to speed up the training pace. Gongki then attacks him with a series of fast kicks, and he screams in pain from the blows. From the impact, a red energy explosion occurs, and he hits the 1,000 mark. With his muscles tearing, he feels a burst of energy that destroys his old muscles. Suddenly, he regenerates, and his muscles are replaced with new, stronger ones than before. With a blushing face, she calls him a pervert for his shirt having disappeared, and he scolds her for peeking. He then decides to end his 3-month retreat, and the young girl asks if he is leaving already. With her eyes full of tears, she asks if he will ever come back to visit her. With a smile, he says of course he'll be back, because she's terrible at video games. Back in the city, he thinks that even though he doesn't love the sunlight, he still misses it. He thinks that he didn't just leave the retreat for a walk, as there is work to be done on campus. He understands that his grades include off-campus missions, like hunting fugitives and criminals. His first stop is the Student Activity Center, where he will meet his friend. Chuzhou greets him and says that he finally came out of his retreat, as he made him wait a long time. Another young man approaches, and our hero's friend reveals he has become a martial artist. With a serious look, he notices there has been no change in our hero's aura, and that frightens him. He then remembers a fight he watched between the 2 strongest students at the university. He thinks the pink-haired boy lost in 10 minutes, and that the other one wasn't even fighting seriously. Suddenly, Lu Qingju comes running and says she's late for their meeting. With a curious look, our protagonist wonders who the girl who just arrived is. In a flashback, her mother reminds her that they are a couple and should act like one on campus. Awkwardly, the young woman asks what he is doing, and he scolds her for not greeting him. With a blushing face, she curses at him and leaves, leaving the boy confused behind her. The group then arrives in front of a modern building with the university's symbol at the entrance. A giant screen shows the most recent missions and the students' outstanding achievements. Sitting at a table, he reveals that he has already completed 3 missions and has come to join him. The group then reviews a list of missions and decides which one fits them best. The first mission is about a serial culprit, and the other is about an anomaly with monsters. Lu Qingzhu explains that the level 2 missions are for teams of 10 people and are rarely approved for 3. With a smile, our hero reveals his privilege card, which allows him to accept more difficult missions. His friend asks where he got the card, and the young woman asks him which mission he prefers. He then analyzes the options and concludes that the third one is the riskiest, but also the most rewarding. The group agrees and decides that facing danger is the best way to become stronger. At the reception desk, a woman scolds them for taking on such a difficult mission as mere freshmen. The young man shows the privilege card, but the woman accuses him of lying and threatens to call the dean. Not believing him, the receptionist picks up the phone and calls the dean to confirm the story. Suddenly, her attitude changes, and with a smile, the young woman wishes the group good luck on their mission. He then tells his friends to prepare their equipment, as he needs to pick up an item before they leave. The young man then goes to the College of Mechatronics and Magitechnology to get his reward. Arriving at the location, he passes through a giant door that verifies his identity before he enters. Inside, the dean praises him for choosing a weapon instead of a rare technique as his prize. The man explains that the weapon has no elemental attributes, but channels energy efficiently. With a serious look, our hero analyzes the blade, which is 1 meter and 20 centimeters long. He tests the sword, and the dean says the serrations on the blade add mass and impact to the strikes. The man continues to explain that the leather hill is metal filaments to help with energy flow. The weapon then releases a blue energy aura, and the dean says that every cut is fast and powerful. The young man is impressed, because the weapon was made with his old measurements but still fits him. The dean brags about his skills and asks the young man not to repeat what he said to his master. The group then arrives at their destination, which is Lingshui County, to begin their new mission. They then disguise themselves as university students on an internship to keep everything secret. Using his ability, the young man scans the area and worries about not scaring their targets in the city. His friend then suggests they look for the house the university arranged for the group to stay in. Suddenly, a man on a tricycle approaches and offers them a cheap and fast ride. With a determined look, our hero stares at the driver and declares that the mission has finally begun. During the ride, the man asks where the boy is from, and he tells his cover story. Shocked, the driver asks about the young man's family, as he doesn't remember seeing him before. He then talks about his grandfather, and thinks it's a good thing he studied the local dialect on the plane. Laughing, the man congratulates him for remembering his roots and wishes him a blessed life. The group then arrives at the mission base, which is a house with a very old and traditional appearance. The driver leaves and invites him to a big party that will take place in 2 days in the city. Entering the place, they realize the house is abandoned and covered in weeds everywhere. With a confident look, our protagonist says that cleaning is his specialty and gets ready. Without hesitation, he stumps on the ground and releases a massive wave of blue energy that clears everything in the courtyard. The weeds are burned away by the blue flames, and his friend jokes that it was a massacre, not a cleaning. Inside the house, the young man says he will check the interior while his friend installs micro cameras. Suddenly, the girl calls him to see something she found, and he approaches curiously. He then asks what she found, and the young woman stares at him with wide, surprised eyes. The young woman shows a bizarre statue in a shrine, and he says that it wasn't there before. He explains that if the shrine were old, it would have already rotted, as it's made of wood. His friend draws his weapon and says he doesn't like the statue, so he's going to destroy it right now. The girl stops him and tells him not to be hasty, as it could be an important clue. But our hero agrees to destroy it, and his friend gets annoyed by his agreement. With a hand on her face, the young woman says they should at least see what's under the mask first. She then approaches and lifts the red cloth, revealing a glowing purple eye underneath. Realizing something is wrong, our hero grabs the girl's wrist to pull her away. He then yells at his friend to cut the thing, and the young man prepares to attack with his weapon. Without hesitation, the young man attacks the statue with a powerful blue energy beam from his weapon. The group then watches the scene with their eyes wide with surprise at what happens. The statue begins to bleed a black liquid, and his friend wonders what that substance is. With a serious look, our protagonist warns that the creature won't be able to escape from there. He then summons his vampire clone, which appears with roses on its body and glowing fists. The clone then grabs the black liquid with its energy fist to prevent it from escaping. The liquid transforms into several heads screaming in pain as the clone holds it tightly. Our hero then yells at his friend to seal the creature, and he prepares to freeze it. Terrified by the scene, the girl wonders what kind of bizarre thing is in front of her. Suddenly, our hero notices the girl has been affected and prepares his energy to help her. He then helps her and says he will transfer his martial energy, and the young woman says she is fine. The ice prism begins to crack as the girl says the wave of terror has passed. With a wicked smile, he says the anomalies are connected to the statue and that he will solve something. The scene then shifts to the Jinshan Buddhist temple in Lingshui County. We see the tricycle driver arriving at the temple and entering through a red door. A bald monk then greets him and says the abbot is already waiting for him. With a strange smile, the driver agrees and seems a little nervous. The monk then guides him through a dark and narrow stone corridor inside the temple. They arrive in a room with giant statues and a door covered in seals. The monk tells the abbot that the man has something to report and introduces him as a donor. The two bow before the abbot, who watches the scene silently and calmly. With a calm voice, the abbot questions him about the reason for his sudden visit. Suddenly, the abbot senses someone else's presence, and his face begins to change. He then transforms into a reptilian monster, shocking the driver with the scene. Terrified, the driver kneels on the floor and calls the creature an immortal in disbelief. The radiation tracker that our hero planted earlier is then revealed at the location. Without warning, our hero appears and stomps on the monster's head with a powerful blow. His clone protects him from the creature's blood, and he complains that the mess wouldn't come out of his clothes. The driver then recognizes him and says he is from the old Yi family of that city. The giant statues in the room begin to move, with their eyes glowing red. The statues attack them, and our protagonist wonders if they can really move. The creatures then attack with their golden weapons and prepare for the great combat. His clone then appears and attacks the giant statue with a powerful and acrobatic kick. The other two statues approach with their intensely glowing red eyes. The creatures then prepare for a coordinated attack with their golden weapons. The four statues surround him and point their weapons at him in an attack formation. He then activates his space ring and makes it invisible so the enemies can't see it. Without hesitation, the young man summons his new weapon and prepares for the impending combat. With his new sword in hand, he holds it firmly and gets ready to attack the statues. In a swift and powerful move, he attacks the creatures with a spinning strike of his sword. With a single blow, he destroys the statue's arms and lands stylishly on the ground. Suddenly, the creatures fire beams from their eyes, and he wonders if they are Buddha statues. He dodges the beams with agility and complains that the beams are too slow to hit him. With a confident smile, he says he's going to see what's inside the statues' bellies. In a red flash, he cuts the statues in half and reveals their interiors full of lightning. The driver is then hit by one of the beams and seems to be disintegrated by the energy. With the impact, the statues are completely destroyed into 1,000 pieces on the temple floor. With his sword in hand, he realizes the creatures were not living beings from the start. He then wonders how a place like this has such advanced and powerful constructs. Looking at the sealed door, he wonders if the answers he's looking for are inside. He then points to the door and says that as a university student, he needs to knock politely. His clone then attacks the door with a powerful punch that causes an energy explosion. He shouts if anyone is home as the door is destroyed by an energy blast. With the impact, the door shatters into 1,000 pieces and reveals a secret passage to another place. Our protagonist then walks through the area amidst the debris of the door he just broke. Looking up, he's impressed by the secret chamber he found there in the basement. He then comes across an underground palace and a giant, golden Buddha statue. The young man then taunts the enemy and tells him to stop hiding like a rat in the dark. Suddenly, a monk appears and sighs warily at the situation happening in the temple. With a calm look, the monk questions why he came to desecrate their temple in such a way. Next, we see a close-up of the enormous golden Buddha statue in the center of the room. The two then stare at each other in silence and prepare for the confrontation to come. With a wicked smile, he calls him a robot and asks if he's addicted to dressing up. Without hesitation, the young man attacks with his sword, leaving a trail of red energy in the air. The monk faces him and says his blood karma is very heavy and that he feels it. Annoyed by the taunt, our hero yells at the monk to shut up and stop talking. With his sword in hand, he leaps onto a rock and prepares to attack the enemy from above. He then falls from the crumbling ceiling and gets ready for combat with his sword. With his hand on the ground, he lands stylishly and prepares for the battle to begin. Looking ahead, he is faced with 18 doors that look like sewer entrances. Suddenly, several pairs of glowing green eyes appear in the darkness of one of the doors. A horde of reptilian monsters charges, and he realizes they are level 1 to 2. He realizes the monsters are biological androids and prepares to fight the horde. With his sword in hand, he prepares to use the Xuanhuang blade art he learned. He then uses his 1,000 leaf cutting technique and prepares for the devastating attack. With his sword covered in red energy, he attacks the horde of monsters with everything. The monsters are hit squarely by the blow, and their bodies are cut into several pieces. With a wicked smile, he wonders what kind of temple keeps such ugly monsters in the basement. Suddenly, one of the monsters survives and charges to devour him with its sharp teeth. On top of a pile of defeated monsters, he faces the horde that continues to advance. Holding the head of a robot monk, he realizes the creature keeps repeating the same phrase. He then taunts the master behind it all and tells him to come out of his hiding place to fight. Suddenly, a mysterious voice says they provoked the wrong opponent and that this is it. The giant Buddha statue then begins to move with its glowing golden eyes. The creature reveals itself to be a huge golden robot and prepares to fight our hero. The robot then transforms and several cannons suddenly appear on its arms and shoulders. With a smile, he is impressed by the transformation and gets ready for the battle to come. The creature then attacks him with its giant hand and tells him to return to the Wheel of Rebirth. The robot attacks with its giant fist covered in a bright and powerful blue energy. With his eyes glowing with blue energy, he prepares for the confrontation with the giant robot. The robot's hand opens and it prepares to fire a powerful blue energy beam. Suddenly, an alarm sounds, warning that an energy spike has been detected and the arm is overheating. The robot is shocked by the scene and asks what that is, as the temperature continues to rise. In his monster form, our hero appears and faces the golden robot with an intimidating gaze. With his crystal fist, he prepares a powerful attack with his ice crystal cannon. The blue energy attack hits the robot squarely and causes a large explosion in the temple. Without wasting time, he charges with his crystal claw to attack the giant golden robot. With a powerful blow, he strikes the robot in the chest with his sharp crystal claw. With a wicked smile and glowing eyes, he shouts that he's not done with his attack yet. He then hits the robot with a knee strike that causes a blue energy explosion. An alert warns that critical damage has been detected in the golden robot's cranial unit. The two then face each other amidst the temple's debris in an epic battle pose. The robot then activates its floating cannons and prepares for a massive and devastating attack. The cannons fire several red energy beams that head toward our protagonist. With its weapons at the ready, the robot fires all its cannons at once with everything it's got. The attack causes a massive explosion of fire and smoke that covers the entire battlefield. The robot then taunts him and wonders what kind of monster he is to make it use so many weapons. With his body covered in smoke, he says that all those weapons are useless against a martial artist. The robot then decides to release the young man and prepares for a new and powerful surprise attack. With a personified meteor attack, it creates several crystal spikes to attack the young man. In his monster form, he calls him a fake monk and says it's time for him to leave the game. Without hesitation, he fires a breath of biokian that destroys the robot and apologizes for the mess. He realizes the mad scientist behind it all dug a hole in the mountain for his robots. With a leap, he lands on a platform and prepares to go down the hole in the floor. He then approaches and he's gonna see what's under the stone lotus flower. Half an hour earlier in a secret lab, two scientists watch everything on monitors. One of the men warns that the door is unbreakable and that the boy won't be able to get through. He says that even so, they still have the cyborg army that can defeat our hero. But the two watch in shock as our protagonist stands on the pile of defeated monsters. With a sweaty face, one of the scientists says they have a trump card to win the battle. But soon after, they see the giant robot being destroyed into 1,000 pieces on the monitor. The two then fall silent, shocked by the scene they just witnessed. Annoyed with the situation, the man yells at his assistant to shut up at once. With his bionic eye, the scientist says the guards will buy them time to escape. He then orders the base to be destroyed so that no information leaks to the enemies. A narration then explains that the laser bird company used the locals' faith to control them. They turned the residents into test subjects for their biotechnology experiments. Suddenly, the lab wall explodes and a blue light illuminates the entire command room. Floating in the air, our hero emerges from the hole and faces the two scientists with a serious look. With a wicked smile, he taunts them and asks where the abbot is trying to run. Without hesitation, the guards draw their weapons and move to protect the doctor at all costs. With a swift movement, he dodges the guards and advances toward the head scientist. With an energy attack, he defeats the guards and approaches the head scientist. The man asks what he wants, and our hero approaches for a face-to-face confrontation. The scientist reveals he has a self-destruct trigger on his watch to protect himself. But our hero breaks his hand with a strike, and the scientist screams in pain from the impact. With a broken hand, the man stares at him with his bionic eye glowing strangely. With no other choice, our protagonist grabs him by the throat and lifts him into the air with force. With his red eye of anger, the scientist seems to be suffering greatly from the grip. Fallen on the floor, the man is left with no strength to fight and surrenders to our protagonist. With a cold look, the young man tells him to tell him everything they did in Lingshui County. With a sweaty and terrified face, the scientist can't say a single word. He then questions him about what they do in the lab, and who finished the other martial artists. The scientist explains he has a monitor in his brain and that the device will detonate if he talks. With no other choice, the man decides to get rid of a capsule he has in his mouth. He then starts to foam at the mouth, and his bionic eye glows with a blue light. Our hero realizes he has a hidden capsule and wonders if they are all like that. Suddenly, the room turns red, and he realizes the man's heart has stopped and the trigger has been activated. With a red aura, he says it's a shame because with him, not even perishing is such a great luxury. A demonic creature then appears and bites the scientist's neck with its sharp teeth. With his new vampire power, he turns the man into one of his zombie servants. The narration explains that vampires turn humans into servants without intelligence or regeneration. He explains that with the humanoid ancestral power, he can merge it with the vampire's gift. With his new power, he spits out the scientist's bionic eye with a bright red aura. The man then kneels before him and calls him master with great loyalty and respect. He explains that he can now create servants with intact memories and powerful regeneration. With a wicked smile, he says the scientist can no longer self-destruct and is now called Mad Doctor. With his glowing eyes, he decides to see when the city was infiltrated by the enemies. Using his new power, he begins to see the scientist's memories to uncover the truth. In a flashback, one of the scientists is hungry and is scolded by the doctor for leaving early. He then realizes that the raw meat they were eating were the offerings brought to the temple. In another memory, the doctor sees an old lady sleeping in the temple's prayer hall. He is shocked to see several people lying on the floor and wonders why they fell asleep there. With his hands in prayer, he whispers the name of the divine descent nation in a trance. Suddenly, the doctor notices a numerical puzzle engraved on his wrist and is confused. He understands the answer is an internal file code in the Laserbird Company's format. Upon entering the code, he discovers that his memories and cognition have all been altered. The doctor realizes the puzzle was left by himself before the sect's infiltration. He understands the purpose was to warn him about the sect called the Nation of Divine Descent. Our hero realizes that the so-called raw meat was actually the human flesh of innocent people. The doctor then reveals that the place was infiltrated, and everyone there became puppets of the sect. With his eyes glowing with rage, he realizes the other martial artists were devoured. The doctor explains that he has been at the temple for 8 years and that the biome conversion is mature. He says he was completely assimilated and that his cognition was gradually rewritten by the sect. The scientist says the lab has sunk too deep and that there is no way to escape or resist. He explains that the abnormality progresses in 4 stages, and the first is eating human flesh. Hypersomnia is a deeper alteration of the mind, and idol worship is essentially incurable. As for mass sleepwalking, it means the victims have already become food for that will. The scientist says the sect intends to feed the entire city to that mysterious will. He reveals that he has identified the agent that pollutes the minds, a demonic fetus from a secret ruin. With glowing eyes, our hero realizes the demonic fetus will mature in 2 nights. He then remembers that the tricycle driver invited him to a party that will be in 2 days. With his arms crossed, he thinks the driver gave him the crucial information he needed. With the broken monitors in the background, he seems to have had a brilliant and bold idea. With a serious look, he says he has extracted all the useful memories from the scientist he captured. He then wonders what he will do with the information about the sect and the demonic fetus. The scientist reveals he has learned some of the company's secrets and that he doesn't have the energy to deal with it. He also reveals that he understood the use and effectiveness of the golden gene that our hero has. A screen then shows that the mission is complete, but he doesn't want the university's reward. With a wicked smile, he says he'd rather steal the prize from the nation of divine descent. He then orders the scientist to spread his blood throughout the city to maximize the infection. Shocked by the plan, the doctor realizes our hero is going to fight for the demonic fetus and its believers. He explains that the residents are already in the 4th stage of contamination and there's no going back. Back at the base, the group seems to be worried about the situation in Lingshui City. He then arrives and the girl scolds him for eating local food amidst that situation. With a disgusted look, the young woman seems to know what the word food means in that place. The friend then reveals that he and the girl went out to investigate and saw the people attacking each other. Shocked, they wonder if the powerful biotechnology organization was also swallowed up. The young woman then suggests calling for backup, but the boy says he won't let Huadu interfere. With a shout, he tells them to relax and says if they call for backup, they'll never get anything done. He then explains they will hold their position until nightfall, as one and only is still missing. With a serious look, he thinks that maybe the city will show its true face after dark. In the Laserbird meeting room, a man reports that they have lost contact with the temple base. The boss then orders him to detonate the devices and all the researchers to leave no witnesses. The scene then shifts to the Lingshui water treatment plant at sunset. Suddenly, a massive fire explosion occurs inside the water treatment plant. With his body injured, the scientist reports that the company tried to detonate the device in his body. Unfazed, our hero tells him to proceed with the plan, and the doctor obeys without hesitation. At night, at the Lingshui train station, the city appears to be deserted and silent. The scene then shows platform 2 of the station, which is completely empty and dark. Suddenly, a man descends the stairs from one of the train cars stopped at the platform. A fat man then appears and calls him Catfish, saying that this is a good place for a idiot. A woman confirms that the temple base was not involved with the great Shia Dragonfinch. Holding a baby, she introduces herself as Ares and wonders who destroyed the temple. A young man named Golden Serpent and a girl named Bluebird then appear at the station. A man named Black Lion then orders them to erase anything that can be destroyed. The team discusses their next steps and reveals that their captain was an ordinary programmer. The captain then divides the tasks and says he will check the temple base with his team. Elsewhere, we see an old, abandoned house under the light of a bright, full moon. Inside the house, a man comments that something is wrong and that people are attacking each other. With a cigarette in his mouth, the man tells his partner that this won't be simple at all. The girl then comes across one of the statues and stares at it with her glowing red eyes. Suddenly, the statue's purple eye glows intensely and seems to be doing something to her. The young man then gets a call and finds out that a warrior destroyed the base and the doctor is missing. He then realizes the signal has been blocked and looks out the window to see what is happening. Shocked, he is faced with a crowd of people in a trance who are approaching them. The young man realizes they have been discovered and that the crowd is coming toward them. He then tells his partner to move and prepares for the impending combat. Suddenly, the girl attacks him with a knife and seriously injures him with the surprise blow. With her glowing purple eyes, she stares at him, and he realizes the young woman is being controlled. Terrified, he realizes the statue they found in the shrine is to blame for everything. The statue then reveals itself to be an idol from a secret ruin called Lunar Nightmare Balos. On top of a tower, he watches a giant moon and prepares for the battle to come. He realizes his life field is being blocked and that he needs to be careful about that. Using his phone, he finds the location of his friends in the crowd of sleepwalkers. He understands the feeding of the mysterious will is going to happen, and it won't be long before he finds out. Suddenly, a young man with a frightened look is shocked by the scene before him. He is faced with his friend and his partner tied to stakes, ready to be sacrificed. The crowd of sleepwalkers then turns and stares at him with their intensely glowing purple eyes. Desperate, the man shouts for his partner to wake up, but she seems to be in a deep trance. He then tries to reason with the crowd but realizes it's useless to talk to them now. With a sweaty face, he understands they are worse than beasts and that they feel no pain or fear. Suddenly, the sound of a bell echoes through the city, and he wonders what that noise is. The crowd then turns and stares at the giant moon in the sky with a hypnotized look. With their purple eyes and a scary smile, the sleepwalkers begin to move as a group. They then start to climb on top of each other to create a massive tower of human bodies. The crowd continues to climb, and the tower of bodies gets taller and more frightening. The tower then fully forms and reaches an impressive height toward the moon. The top of the tower then breaks off and falls to the ground, creating a hole from the impact. From the tower, 3 giant stakes then emerge, preparing for the sacrifice to come. The scene then shifts to the Jinshin Temple, which is silent and dark under the moonlight. The captain of the Laserbird team realizes something went wrong as he lost contact with his men. The captain decides to take the initiative and orders his team to return to the city immediately. The team is then shocked to see something unexpected and mysterious happening in the city. From the temple, they watch the scene and prepare for what is about to happen. Holding her baby, the woman points to the horizon and shouts for everyone to look over there. They are faced with a massive pillar of light descending from the moon toward the city. With a sweaty face, the captain realizes the temple's fall wasn't as simple as they thought. He then orders the team to move to the location where the moonlight is hitting the city. The scene then shifts to a dark and deserted street in Lingshui City at night. The team runs through the street, and the captain spots some energy traces on the city's ground. Suddenly, he realizes someone else is nearby and becomes alert. With an acrobatic move, he leaps and attacks a mysterious figure with a powerful blow. A blue umbrella opens and blocks the attack with a bright purple energy. The attack then hits the ceiling and causes a small explosion of blue and white energy. With a serious look, the captain realizes this is no ordinary person and that they have magic technology. Holding her umbrella, the girl prepares for the combat that is about to begin. With flower petals around her, she asks who they are and why they are attacking. With a wicked smile, the captain realizes she is not a local and that she destroyed the temple. Without hesitation, the fat man charges with his team to attack the 2 in 3 seconds. Our hero's friends prepare to fight and face the approaching team. The fat man then moves to attack the girl and says it's a shame he has to take her down. The friend then creates a wall of ice to protect the girl from the fat man's attack. The ice wall then appears, and a large energy explosion happens at the site of the attack. But the captain destroys the wall with a single blow, and a blue energy explosion occurs. Shocked, the young man can't believe his ice wall was destroyed so easily. He then warns the girl to fall back, as the 3 are high-level martial masters. Suddenly, our protagonist appears and prepares to attack the enemy team's captain. Shocked by the surprise appearance, the captain wonders who the boy who just arrived is. With a serious look, our hero faces him and says he wasn't very close for a surprise attack. He then asks if the young man is with them, and the boy says he is there to take him out. With a wicked smile, the captain calls him bold and uses his art of 12 phantom bodies. Several clones then appear and charge to attack our hero with their sharp knives. With a red aura, our hero uses his time-freezing ability and stops the attack. He explains that even a great martial master can still be taken down if caught by surprise. With a confident smile, he says he can't tell which is the real clone but has a plan. He says he doesn't need the real clone and prepares to use a devastating area of effect attack. With a wicked smile, he gets ready to finish off the enemy team's captain. He then says that he is a lackluster king of assassins and attacks him with a red beam. The beam hits the captain squarely in the head and defeats him with a single precise blow. Fallen on the ground, the captain is finally defeated, and his clones disappear with his demise. Our hero then approaches and says his blood will take him to the next martial level. With a red aura, he absorbs all of the captain's blood with his vampire ability. He then gets stronger and realizes he has already reached the 8th stage of a martial artist with the blood. Shocked, the other 2 call him a monster for defeating the captain and draining his blood. With a wicked look, he says they are not done yet and that he will show them something fun. With his vampire ability, he summons a flesh and blood puppet to fight by his side. Shocked, the woman wonders what that is and prepares for the combat to come. The puppet reveals itself, and she realizes it is the body of the captain who was just defeated. Without hesitation, the woman says she will take care of it and prepares to fight the puppet. She then throws her baby into the air and prepares for a powerful and surprising attack. Suddenly, the baby explodes into a cloud of black and purple smoke, to everyone's surprise. The baby transforms into a giant monster, and she tells it to hold the enemies so she can escape. Without a second thought, the woman and her partner run to escape the battle that is about to start. He then orders his friends to hold the giant monster and prepares for the chase. With a determined look, our hero announces he is going after the other 2 masters who fled. The friend then awakens his bloodline and summons the aura of a giant ice dragon. The giant monster faces the young man with its glowing purple eyes and prepares for battle. With an acrobatic move, the friend attacks the giant monster with a strike from his ice sword. The scene then shifts to a dark and deserted street in Lingshui City at night. Elsewhere, the blood puppet attacks the monster with a powerful red energy strike. With his glowing sword, the friend summons an ice dragon to fight the giant monster. The 2 monsters clash in a devastating confrontation of blue and red energies. With his glowing sword, the young man charges to attack the giant monster with an aerial strike. The monster then dodges the blow, and blood drips from its shoulder from the impact of the attack. Shocked by the scene, the young man wonders how the creature managed to react so quickly. Suddenly, he realizes the wound on the monster's shoulder is from a cyborg, and is shocked. Without wasting time, the monster attacks with its red energy arm, and the young man dodges. The blood puppets then charge and prepare to attack the giant and powerful monster. With an acrobatic move, the puppets attack the monster with their swift and precise blows. The creature then defends against the attacks, and a fierce exchange of blows begins in the battle. The girl then releases her purple energy wings and prepares to enter the fight with everything she's got. At full charge, she uses her genetic techniques and prepares for an area of effect attack. The young woman then fires several purple energy beams that create a massive sphere of power. The young man warns the monster not to try to escape and traps it with his ice ability. The energy sphere then explodes and hits the entire city with a bright purple light. With the impact of the explosion, several buildings are destroyed and the city is left in ruins. The scene then shifts to a dark and damp sewer in Lingshui City at night. The fat man then flees through the sewer and complains that he hasn't run like this since the Black Triangle. Suddenly, an energy dart hits the wall, and he turns to see what happened. Next, a blue energy beam is fired and hits the water in a devastating explosion. Terrified by the scene, he realizes that rats really do like to hide in the sewers. Elsewhere, the woman flees desperately and prepares to escape from Lingshui City. She realizes that a blue energy beam was fired in the direction of her partner, who fled. With a sweaty and terrified face, she realizes she is the only one left on the team and is in trouble. Desperate, the woman says she can't perish and that she needs to find a way to escape. Suddenly, she has an idea and a glimmer of hope appears in her wide eyes. She then observes the pillar of light and thinks that this might be her only chance of survival. With a determined look, the woman vows she will live even if she has to sell her soul to the devil. Shocked by the scene, she wonders what that is and prepares for what will happen. She then is faced with the Tower of Bodies and her muscles tense up at the sight. Suddenly, our protagonist appears and asks if she wants to climb the Tower of Bodies. With no other choice, the woman begins to climb the tower and says she can't care anymore. With a cry of determination, she advances to the top of the tower with all her might. She then climbs the Tower of Bodies and gets closer and closer to her final goal. With her eyes wide with surprise, the woman stares at what is at the top of the Tower of Bodies. She then is faced with a giant door and wonders if it's really a door in the sky. Suddenly, the door opens and a bright purple light illuminates the entire battlefield. Crying with joy, the woman says she misses her parents very much and steps into the light. The scene then shows the pillar of light descending from the moon toward Lingshui City. We then see the door opening and revealing a passage to a place full of light. On the other side of the door, a crowd of people seems to be waiting for something important. With a wicked smile and glowing eyes, he stares at Lingshui City at night. With his sword on his shoulder and a purple aura, he prepares for the final showdown in the city. He then realizes the sect's god used the woman's fear to create an illusion of him. With his phone in hand, he thinks that with all the enemies defeated, he can now act. With a wicked smile, he says that after so much work, the big show is about to begin. We then see the pillar of light dissipating and Lingshui City returning to normal. The night remains silent and calm with the full moon shining brightly in the sky. We then see several bodies lying on the city's ground after the battle against the sect. The friend then questions if he really wants to continue the mission despite everything. With a smile, he says he is sure and that they have a powerful ally helping them. The friend then thinks he must be the illegitimate son of a warrior or the young master of a family. With a red aura, he warns that he has a very important task for his friends. The red energy spreads and he prepares to use his blood puppets. He then orders his friends and his puppets to destroy all the statues in the city. The friend then charges with the puppets to carry out our protagonist's order. With a determined look, the girl faces the mission and prepares to fight as well. He then calls the girl and approaches her for a serious and important conversation. With a smile on his face, he asks the young woman to believe in him and his plans for the city. With a blushing face, the girl is left speechless and just stares at him in silence. Smiling, she says she believes in him but asks that he trust his colleagues more in the future. The scene then shifts to the Jinshin Temple, which is silent and dark under the moonlight. He then finds the doctor and tells him to get ready for the battle to come. The scientist reveals that all the androids our hero took out are piled up there. He then uses the power of anthropomorphism and a giant blue energy creature appears. The creature then rips out its own heart and prepares it for the ritual that is about to begin. The heart is then thrown into the well, and the reptilian monsters begin to devour it completely. Amidst the pool of blood and monsters, a new creature with sharp teeth begins to emerge. Suddenly, a giant red eye opens in the center of the pool of monsters and blood. He explains that he will use the vampire virus to revive the bodies and give them human strength. The doctor then informs him that the biochemical mosquitoes have already been sent to the city. With their bright red bodies, the mosquitoes fly into the city's houses to infect everyone. Several mosquitoes fly toward a house and prepare to spread the vampire virus. He then orders the doctor to fix the Buddha robot and remove some of its weapons. With a smile, he says that everything is progressing and that he needs to see how the sect will act. We then see two buses from the sect, which is the human apocalypse faction that emerged with the invasions. The sect believes the demonic fetus will absorb everyone's energy to create a vessel for their god. A hooded man then stares at the city and prepares for the battle against our hero. With a determined look, he says that everyone there is about to become part of the heavenly kingdom. With its glowing eyes and floating tentacles, the demonic fetus is about to be conceived. On one of the buses, a man warns that the demonic fetus is just ahead in the city. The sect members mourn the archbishop's passing and call him a good man of faith. The leader says they cannot let his sacrifice be in vain and that they must fight. With their glowing red eyes, the sect members shout that they are saving humanity. They then raise their hands and shout that God is coming to the world and that heaven is on earth. The next night, we see a moon with several enormous and mysterious craters on its surface. The moon then smiles creepily, and a pillar of light descends toward the city. The sect leader gets excited upon seeing the pillar of light and says only 2 god fetuses have been born. With a wicked smile, he says that he will now be recorded in the history of the god's religion. He says the first hatched god caused global disasters and took millions of lives. The second one caused the entire Australian continent to lose contact with the world. Suddenly, a series of danger warnings appears and a dark red aura emerges. The leader then cuts his wrist and prepares for the sacrificial ritual for his god. A bright red crystal star emerges from the sect leader's blood. The blood then spreads and forms a circle of offerings to welcome the third god. On top of a mountain of bodies, the sect leader watches the ritual with excitement. He then approaches the giant door and prepares to offer his own blood. With his bloody hand on his chest, he asks his god to accept his blood as an offering. The door opens and a mysterious voice calls him to enter and approach the fetus. He then floats inside the door and approaches a mysterious platinum coffin. With tentacles all around, the coffin holds the god fetus that is about to reach maturity. The sect leader then calls his followers to welcome the gods. With a shocked face and wide eyes, he seems to be in a deep trance. On top of the Tower of Bodies, a man carries the coffin and prepares for the final ritual. The coffin is then placed in the center of the blood circle to begin absorbing the energy. With a star of blood in his hands, he invokes the nightmare from the world of dreams. He then reveals the god's name, which is the lunar nightmare Barrows, and invokes it with force. Suddenly, the people in the Tower of Bodies begin to scream, and a white light emerges from them. The souls are then extracted from the bodies and float in the air in a frightening scene. The Tower of Bodies is then covered by a bright and powerful white energy aura. Suddenly, a wave of blue energy spreads and hits the Tower of Bodies with full force. Shocked by the scene, the sect leader wonders what is happening to the ritual. With his mouth open, he can't believe the pure white spirit suddenly turned blue. Desperate, the man shouts and wonders how the spirit of the god fetus was polluted. The blue spirits then advance and prepare to contaminate the god fetus with their power. The leader realizes the ritual cannot be reversed and that the fetus will be contaminated. Suddenly, our protagonist appears and prepares to attack the sect leader by surprise. With a shocked and terrified face, the leader turns and asks who the boy who attacked him is. With a serious look, our hero says that in this situation, he should know who he is. A series of geometric red attacks advance toward the sect leader. With a swift blow, he attacks the leader with his blood ability and defeats him with ease. With his red aura and the moon in the background, he shouts that he is the devil and attacks